Mesdames, Messieurs, pour le lancement de cette course, pour prononcer l'invitation traditionnelle à lancer les moteurs, accueillons 2 conseillers municipaux de la ville de Trois-Rivières, du district de Châteaudun, M. Luc Tremblay, et du district des Rivières, Mme Pascale Albernet-Lahaye.
Pilote, veuillez démarrer vos moteurs.
Driver, start your engine.
The call to start the engines here for the Formula 1600 Tour at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. I'm Dave Bradley. Todd Lewis is joining me in the booth. The French feeds getting their shots taken and getting their show established. That is not Todd, that is not me, and we are just the voices that you are hearing on your screen right now. But we are looking forward to a great 30-minute timed race here for the Formula 1600 Tour. They had one race yesterday in the evening time, so it was the first race that mattered yesterday, starting at about 6 o'clock. And man, did they put on a great show. Like, it was a great night from start to finish.
Lots of action, and that's what we expect. The cars very evenly matched, so the competition is in the driver's hands. Your success is based on your talent, your skill, your ability, and your opportunity to take advantage of your competitors circulating around the track. So we'll get another 30 minutes of action underway shortly.
Yeah, I see there is one entrant here who probably won't make the call. Mike Franza in the 20 had big-time damage to that race car. Waiting to see if he, in fact, has joined us here on the grid. But several other drivers were in the process of having a good finish, but then had something happen. You know, it was like we were watching Jacob Moreau, and he was picking off drivers left, right, and center, and then all of a sudden drove it in just a little bit too deep in turn number 6. Tried to save it, but caught the tire wall and essentially just bent up the right front corner.
Ending his day, and you could see the frustration from Jacob Moreau. There was that shot, remember, looking into the cockpit, and he had his hands on the top of his helmet, knowing that he had such a good thing going. He was picking off positions left and right, moving his way through the field up into the top 5 when quickly it went away.
Yeah. And he is out there, but it's a whole new race, and the beauty of this race is it's based on your top speed from race number 1. That's how we set the qualifying order, and that is why Marc-Antoine Cardin is going to start first. He did not win yesterday. Jake Cowden did. Cowden set the second fastest time, I should say, in the 66, so he'll start alongside on the outside. Connor Klubine in the 6, Sam Baker in the 51. Again, Baker had some issues too and failed to finish yesterday, so he will start in 4th. Then it's Callum Baxter, Jacob Moreau, Connor Waglin, Didier Schranen, Michel Bonnet, Martin Brousseau, and then Henderson Knox, Duncan Murdoch, Martin Jansen, Mike Franza, if he does make the call in the 20 car, Charles Courtois in the 23, Macon Chamberlain in the 06, and Mario Dufour in the 97. That is your field. Mixed up between Pro and Pro-Am drivers. So the drivers in the Pro-Am not quite as experienced, and none running the Honda engine package, which is a little bit more up-to-date, a little bit more powerful. All of them running a Kent engine, which is based on a Ford block.
As Dave mentioned, a lot of action racing yesterday, especially in the last final restart that took us to the finish between Marc-Antoine Cardin, Jake Cowden, and Connor Klubine. Those 3 swapped positions, I think, just about all the way through the top 3 in that last couple of laps. And expect the action to be continuous here today as the field starts to double up and the pace car ducks to pit lane.
Pace car pulls in. This is a great series to watch, especially on this track. Yes, the walls do jump out and bite you sometimes with those open wheels that are sticking way out, but these cars are a lot of fun to drive, and the draft really makes a difference down the long back straightaway. As you see, Marc-Antoine Cardin in the number 10 alongside Jake Cowden. And they'll slowly make their way through turn number 11. A nice tidy start, 2 complete lines. As one driver took a peek out, that was the 51 of Sam Baker, and now Baker goes way to the outside as he had a head of steam going into turn number 1.
Holding our breath as we look 3 and 4 wide, everybody through corner number 1. The front of the field now filtering through 2 and headed towards the arch, the left-hander for the first time.
Connor Klubine looks like the driver who got the short end of the stick on that one in the 6 cars. He dropped back 1 position to the 51 of Baker. Baker now all over the back of race number 1 winner Jake Cowan in there and locked up double, and he goes all the way to the lead. Are you kidding me? From 3rd to the lead in turn number 6 goes Sam Baker. What a move.
That was an unbelievably bold attempt by Sam Baker to charge up all the way through to the first spot, but now he's got his hands full trying to hold on to it, and it's going to get snatched away from him by Marc-Antoine Cardin.
I don't think a lot of that was intentional by Sam Baker. I think he wanted to get 1 position, not 2, but have another look. He dives out to the inside around Jake Cowden, and then he gets on the brakes, and he's essentially on skis at this point. Good job on Cardin for avoiding him, but then somehow he makes the turn.
What a way to reel it in. I don't know if that's how you want to design the pass from 3rd to 2nd, but that's how it's worked out right now for Sam Baker.
That is the perfect example of full send. You don't go half send on this one. You go full send in turn number 6. And for Sam Baker, it did pay off for a little bit. Cardin managed to get him back in turn number 8, though.
Well, let's see what happens now. We're still only barely a minute and a half into this 30-minute race. So we mentioned lots of activity yesterday, plenty of action. We have seen it in the first couple of laps here. And already there's jockeying for position as well, as Connor Klubine wants to move back into a podium spot.
The thing about that, too, is he's abused his tires really early. I mean, we laugh and we joke. It was a really bold move and pretty exciting to watch. But for Sam Baker now, he's dealing with really large flat spots on those tires as he locked them up for a long time.
He really did. It just could not afford to get off the brakes, because if he did, he would have continued to carry speed and would not have been able to make that left-hander that eventually put him into the lead briefly. He has, of course, since surrendered the top spot to Marc-Antoine Cardin, who's just posted the fastest lap of a 1:13.2 around the circuit here at Florida.
Sam Baker, though, keeping pace, a 1:13.5, 1:13.4 for Jake Cowden. Connor Klubine, 1:13.3, so all really in the top 5. Callum Baxter in the 1:13s as well. But so far it is the number 10 of Cardin out of Sorel, Quebec, driving the Spectrum chassis, Honda-powered entry. And here comes Cowden to the inside of Baker. Baker took a look and he saw him. Look, though, that car's dancing under braking. And that's the issue with turn number 6. There are some bumps there, and these are relatively light cars, so they don't handle bumps as easy as some of the bigger, heavier cars like the stock cars we'll see later today.
And these cars also are open wheel, but have none of the aerodynamic effects on the front or the back. No wings, no downforce to help pin them to the track. And that 51 car is trying to fight back on the 66 of Jake Cowden, but also feeling pressure from Connor Klubine from behind.
Yeah, he better check his mirrors, because you can see he's hunting for a way around the 66 of Cowden, and now he tucks into the draft here on the front straightaway. Does Sam Baker in the blue, the double blue and white 51, as we'll call it, behind the Britain West Motorsports number 66 of Jake Cowden. And through turn number 3, a single file corner, if there ever is one, on any motorsports circuit, especially in these cars. You do not want to go side by side through there.
Doesn't mean it won't be tried, but it's probably not the best course of action. Then again, it's not probably the best course of action to pass 2 cars heading into quarter number 6. And you can see Baker's locking up the tires. And that 6 car, Connor Klubine, locked up just a little bit, but does get the pass completed. He now moves into 3rd ahead of Sam Baker.
So the fact that Baker locked up might have been representative of those flat spots on the tires, because as you start to wear down the tire, they have a tendency of finding those flat spots again, and they'll keep going, as Baker, you can see, is still trying to push as hard as he can. After being in 2nd spot, he was in the lead for a little bit. He's now down in 4th position, chasing those 2 Britain West Motorsports entries, and they're gonna link up. I'm gonna guarantee it. They won't fight as hard amongst each other as Baker would being in the middle of them.
Well, and they see that the gap has grown as well to the leader, Marc-Antoine Cardin, because of the dice for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th between Cowden, Klubine, and Baker. Marc-Antoine Cardin has been able to gap them just a little bit, give himself a little bit of extra breathing room. And now those second and third place cars and Britain West cars seem to have hooked up just a little bit to try to run him down.
Callum Baxter in behind as well in the 65, in behind the 51. Now you can see Sam Baker is losing touch with those two Britain West Motorsports. So I think you're right. I think they are just going to try and link up, use their own draft. Two cars can be faster than one if they're both around the same lap times, and they are. Jake Cowden and Connor Klubine definitely are. 13-0 and a 13-1. Their best times, their last time, as a matter of fact, Connor Klubine set his 13-1. So he is getting quicker as this race goes on, and they're still trying to close down on the 10 of Marc-Antoine Cardin.
Nose to tail, it almost looks as you're looking at them straight on as if there's one car, and that means they're doing it right. You do want to use that draft. You can see them trying to line up as straight as possible. Use the first car as the rabbit to try to push their way through the wind, and then the second car pushes along behind to try to close that down. Nice work by Marc-Antoine Cardin so far, though, to maintain that gap between the second and third.
Well, they almost, we can tell you that last time across the stripe, it shrunk by about 0.4 of a second. So nearly half a second, these Britain West Motorsports cars are cutting into the race lead in one lap. Marc-Antoine Cardin, still out in front by 1.1 seconds. But you can see the gap now to the fourth place car in Sam Baker. So Baker he was there for a long time, but he's just not able to keep that consistent speed up.
Again, maybe having abused those tires just a little bit with long lock-up. Every time you get on the brakes, the tires are going to want to lock up at that same point because of the flat spots. And now you see the 51 under a bit of attack from Callum Baxter, putting some pressure on him from behind as they come out through the final corner onto the front straightaway.
You want an idea of how close this is getting? 0.6 of a second now, another half a second out of the lead, and all three front runners just laid down their fastest time of the race. Cardin put in a 12.693, so a minute 12.6. Cowden a minute 12.2, and Klubine a minute 12.3. So those Britain West Motorsports cars are flying.
It is now a three-car battle at the front. First, second, and third, all pretty much nose to tail. Marc-Antoine Cardin leading the way. Jake Cowden in the 66 is running second. His teammate Connor Klubine in the 6, right behind. And those three have given themselves a little bit of breathing room between fourth place and Sam Baker. And now let's see what the fight really entails, having just passed 8 minutes of racing.
Yeah, they don't have to force the issue. There's still 21 minutes left to go, so you don't have to pass Cardin right now. You can follow him for a little while and see where his weaknesses develop, where you are quicker, where you might be able to make that clean pass to say, click off yet another lap, and we know it's even closer at 0.2 of a second, the difference between first and second. One car in the pits, I believe that's Martin Jansen in the 195, possibly Connor Wagland. And obviously the focus is on the brake and the brake ducting that they're trying to create. You can see the brakes glowing as we have a battle for the lead. Now it's a pass for the lead. The 66 goes through Jake Cowden, and here comes the 6 of Connor Klubine as well.
Great work by the teammates, both to complete that pass heading into corner number 6. First, the 66 of Cowden coming through, and then Connor Klubine following through to take the pass up the inside. And now those two Britain West teammates are going to want to line up nose to tail to try to fend off any challenge that Marc-Antoine Cardin might have left in that car.
If you're Marc-Antoine Cardin, you have to be thinking, where did you two come from? I had a huge lead not too long ago, and that lead evaporated with some stellar laps from the two teammates from Britain West Motorsports. They just really followed in each other's tire tracks, linked up, and they continue to do that. Now they'll be able to open up a little bit of a gap on Marc-Antoine Cardin if they so choose. Looks like problems on the 10. Cardin didn't come through turn number 2. He spun, or he pulled off anyway. Cardet in the 10 off the track now in turn 2. So I don't know if he did spin.
Did not see whether he spun or not, but just watching the cars come through 2 and then down towards 3, that gap had stretched out and Marc-Antoine Cardin was off course. And now the two teammates have an enormous lead over what has become the 3rd place car of Callum Baxter.
Yeah, it looks like engine trouble as the safety crew going to look underneath the cowling of that Spectrum Honda package. So just in the event there could be a flare-up, a fire, or something else, so they're going to take that cowling off to make sure they can hit it with a fire extinguisher if they need to. But wow, what a turn of events for Marc-Antoine Cardin. 2nd yesterday in race number 1, and race number 2 is not going to end favorably.
Just coming through corner number 1, he started to slow down just a little bit, and then there is no fire in that engine. He is coasting along headed to 2.
Yeah, it just quit, and there you can see a change for what appears to be now 3rd place on the track. Callum Baxter is up to 3rd, so it is a 1-2-3 Britain West Motorsports sweep at this point as Sam Baker has dropped back to 4th. Jacob Moreau up to 5th spot, Didier Schrein in 6th, Michel Bonnet in 7th, and then Henderson Knox and Martin Brousseau along with Duncan Murdoch. That is your top 10.
Henderson Knox, the first of the Pro-Am cars running in this F1600 race. Martin Brousseau, Duncan Murdoch, the top 3 Pro-Am drivers right now, but these are your 2 leaders, the 6 and the 66 of Jake Cowden and Connor Klubine showing the way. Big gap back to that 3rd place car of Callum Baxter.
Been a lot less contact as I say that. Of course, that's usually what happens. The 97 goes for a spin. That's on the exit of turn number 1, and I'm not sure where he was going after that. Matteo Dufour in the 97, one of the Pro-Am drivers. Car was rolling backwards. He found a gear, but then he went for a little drive to try and get it spun back around in the right direction. He did. And we continue under green with 17.5 minutes left to be completed here in this 30-minute timed race.
So if you're the 2 teammates out in front, Jake Cowden and Connor Klubine, how long are you content to run in this nose-to-tail formation perfectly in sync around the circuit here at Trois-Rivières? Of course, the team is important. You want success, and you're going to have a first, second finish potentially. But if you're sitting in 2nd place the way Connor Klubine is, how much do you want to be sitting in 1st place and showing the way for your Britain West team?
Well, he'll get awful tired looking at that gearbox as we just saw the camera angle, because that is exactly what Connor Klubine has been staring at for the last 7 or 8 minutes of this 30-minute time race. And I'm going to say that he will play happily the team role for a long time as they continue to open up a gap now. The difference between 2nd and 3rd is about 7 seconds on the racetrack. So these 2 are well out in front, and I think he's happy to be there until a mistake is made. He's not going to force the issue, but if Cowden makes a mistake, which could happen, then he'll jump through.
Shifting a little bit now to driver's right is that 6th car of Connor Klubine. Just having a look, just trying to cruise around, maybe reminding his teammate that he's there. But no sense of attack right now, and nor would there be. We still have this race to go, but those 2 cars have been the class of the field.
They are going to come into some lap traffic, so that could play a factor, and that could change this scenario of this race very, very quickly, depending on if that driver sees who is coming. It's Charles Courtois in the 23 just ahead, and he does. So a good sort of spatial awareness for the driver of the 23. Courtois pulls right up and out of the way and lets those drivers come through. There's a good look at Didier Schreinen, currently 6th on the racetrack in the number 94.
Hasn't had quite as active a race as he did yesterday. Didier Schreinen made a big charge up and through the top 5, ran up as high as 2nd before coming under attack. These Britain West cars were a couple of cars that went back around him, and he found his way back a little bit in the field, but still a lot of speed shown at times for Didier Schreinen.
Can tell you that the 27 of Jacob Moreau is now up inside the top 4 as he passed Sam Baker. So Baker, who was once your leader, is now down in 5th position ahead of Didier Schreinen. Schreinen still has a little bit of distance to close to catch Baker, but Moreau is once again coming hard. He did it yesterday in race number 1. Sort of built that speed over the course of the race, and he's done the same here today in race number 2.
Perfectly in sync, the front 2 right now. Jake Cowden, Connor Klubine as they put another lap in, and we reach the halfway point of this 30-minute race. Those 2 cars will nose to tail and pass through corner number 1.
Yeah, just look at how smooth they are. Both those cars are working very, very well. You've seen the 6 of Klubine sort of dance a little bit in turn number 8. It's not quite handling as well as the 66, but it is very, very close. And it looks like Klubine he's got the speed on corner exit in turn number 3. There he goes to the outside. So again, not forcing the issue. Cowden took a look over in his mirror, so he knows full well that Klubine is starting to get hungry.
Just drifted the car out a little bit wider there to driver's right, and acknowledging to his teammate that yes, I am still here, and while I am flying in formation right now, that may change at some point. Once again, the traffic doing a pretty good job of getting out of the way of those faster runners up in front.
Make a Charmelin in the 0-6, but see the gap opened and now it closes again as Connor Klubine was like, wait a second, I'm not looking at that gearbox for a little while. I need to get back to that. I'm studying every nut and bolt on that thing. Look at Klubine. He's not following in the, so he has changed his tactic now with almost 10 minutes left here in this 30-minute timed race. So he is starting to search around a little bit. I think the 6 might be even a little bit quicker than the 66, whereas about 2 laps ago I was like, no, I think the 66 is a faster car.
And that's what you're going to do if you're running second, whether it's your teammate or not. You're going to look for a faster racing line. You know you can go as fast as the leader. Is there a way around this circuit that you can go faster than the leader and at least give yourself an opportunity to make a charge up the inside, whether it be through corner number 6 that we just completed, whether it's through corner number 8, you are going to be looking for that faster line because you're a race car driver and you want to be in front of the race.
You don't want to finish second. Nobody wants to lose because really second place is the first loser. But looking at the last lap times, I can tell you that Callum Baxter is closing on the 2 front runners by about half a second the last time by, but problem is there's about 7 seconds in between 1 and 2. And look, that is the battle for 4th spot. It was Moreau and Baker. They came together in turn number 8.
And Moreau is still slow and getting away, and he's going to lose another spot to maybe to Didier Schreinen that snuck through there.
And it looks like Moreau might have been the one that spun on the entry to turn number 8. Sam Baker just spun to avoid making contact.
Sam Baker quickly got that 51 car rolling and moved around the 27 to retake that spot, and it was Didier Schreinen who went through and picked up a couple of spots there.
Yeah, up to 4th spot now for the 94, you're right, but they again have, oh boy, a long distance. That's a lap car, the 23, with a big tail wag. Charles Courtois trying to keep up to Didier Schreinen on the exit of turn number 3. Had a moment, he'll have to catch his breath at this point.
Back up front now with the 66 and the 6 car. Jake Cowden followed by Connor Klubine, the teammates. And the gap stretches out a little. It tightens up a little, heading through the final couple of corners and out towards the start-finish line. And Connor Klubine continues to search around just a little bit, taking a slightly different line now through corner number 1. He's pretty much nose to tail with his teammate. But again, looking a little wider through some of the corners, looking for an opportunity that he might be able to seize. Does it cause his teammate to glance once too frequently in his mirrors and maybe miss a corner by just a little bit, maybe miss a braking point by just a little bit, and create that opening that he might be able to charge?
Now the gap back to 3rd, now over 10 seconds to Callum Baxter, as Baxter had to deal with some lap traffic, but It's not a bad thing to give a little bit of a berth between the two. You don't want to lose that draft down the straightaway, but Klubine has been pasted on the gearbox of the 66 of Jake Cowden for nearly this entire distance. First running in second and third, and now running in first and second. But you leave a little bit of a gap, and then you might be able to close in. It's difficult to make that maneuver to pass at the last minute when you're right on the back end of somebody.
You still have to have a little bit of reaction time, depending on if your opponent ahead of you does make a little bit of a mistake, makes a little bit of a slip up that you have to be able to take advantage of. You still have to have time to react. And if the front of your car is touching the gearbox, that's not going to give you enough time.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see the 6 of Klubine. He did get hard on the brakes and squealed the tires just a little bit going into turn number 1 there. He closed it up. Turn 3 is a really good turn for the driver of the 6, and he's able to continue with that momentum down the straightaway. But he hasn't been able to make it work into turn number 6 yet, because he gets to the outside, and I think Cowden is just too strong, and he runs sort of the middle of the track. He's running that defensive line.
He's not giving away an opportunity for the 6 car Connor Klubine to pass him, but he is a defensive, but he's not blocking. He's just running his line, and that's a very tight gap now as they come through corner 9 and head back through the right-hander onto corner number 1. Is he looking at an opportunity maybe into corner number 1, pulling right up tight and trying to take the inside? Not there yet.
It looks like Klubine has lost his transponder as he's fallen off on our timing and scoring sheets. There is your third place driver, Callum Baxter. So officially, it is Jake Cowden, Connor Klubine, and Callum Baxter. Yeah, Klubine is being shown in 11th position, 1 lap down, so something has gone amiss with his transponder. It's not picking up, so that's affecting our timing and scoring. He is definitely still there in second. We can clearly see that here on our screen as they're coming up on the 22 of Duncan Murdoch. Murdoch is sitting in 10th, by the way, so he's having a quietly good day. These guys are just having a quietly better day.
There's the fight between the 94 Didier Schraden and the 51 of Sam Baker as well, and Baker now is going to try another inside move. We saw what happened earlier when he locked up the tires, but nice car control so far. Number 8, that's a nice move, nice pass on Schraden.
Went a lot better than the first time when Baker magically found himself in the lead after locking up his tires from what seemed like Shawinigan all the way into turn number 6, but made it stick, avoided the concrete wall, avoided the tire wall, and came out the leader. It was just an amazing pass, it really was. But Baker does it a little bit more subdued this time as he sticks underneath the 94 of Didier Schraden, but Baker has been consistently quicker than the 94 as he manages to get around into 4th position, so still your top 2. And working lap traffic, Duncan Murdoch in the 22 holds that outside lane.
Thought for a second there might be an opportunity for that 6 car, Connor Klubine there, but just wasn't quite enough room to the inside. The lap car did impede the progress of the 66, not on purpose, but just it affected how he made his way through that corner, and the car off track there.
That's Mario Dufour. Remember, he had that spin earlier on, so he's 2 laps down to the race leader, and he stopped on the exit of turn number 8. He knew the leaders were coming, and that's not generally what they'll tell you to do in the drivers' meeting. Just hold your line, let the leader go through, and try and stay on the racetrack, but essentially Dufour decided it was better that he stop right there and then carry on once the track was clear.
The fight continues between the 51 of Sam Baker and the 94 of Didier Schraden. Sam Baker has 4th position. Didier Schraden would like to have that spot back in front of Sam Baker again, but that 9-10 part, looks like that gap has stretched out just a little bit. The fight is breaking off.
Yeah, it's hard to say. The first place and second place now is a gap of about 2 car lengths as they continue to work through lap traffic. Martin Brousseau, the second place in the Pro-Am division. 9th place overall, just ahead of your race leader. So one of the older style chassis. And Brousseau, look at that, a big berth, allowing the leaders to go through. That's super heads-up racing from Brousseau in the Pro-Am division, checking his mirrors, knowing who's around him and where they were.
Faster cars are approaching, would have probably received a blue flag or two to let him know that there are other cars approaching, and heeded those warnings. And Connor Kluban in the 6 has just turned the fastest lap of the race with a 1:11.9. So he has plenty of speed, as does his teammate. Does he have enough speed and have enough finesse to find his way around as he takes again a slightly different line through corner number 3?
So Cowden again. Look at, he's running right around the yellow line, the middle of the track. Here comes Kluban, looks to the inside, knows that was going to be a Hail Mary pass and decides to back off, brake where he's supposed to, and carry on. But this is building with under 4 minutes to go.
That looks like it may be the spot coming through this part of the track, through corner number 3. If Connor Kluban can take a slightly different line and build up enough momentum. I saw the little peak that he was thinking about the move to the inside, but it wasn't there, and he thought better of it and backed out. That nose of that car is really close to the leader now, and he's trying to give him all the attention he can.
The only place Connor Kluban hasn't looked is in there, turn number 1. He hasn't tried to make a move to the inside in turn number 1. Will he do it in turn 2? That is a passing opportunity. It's dicey, but it can work. Turn 3 is not. But this is where Kluban gets the great run off. And look at that. Huge momentum off the turn. A quick glance in the mirror from Jake Cowden, your race leader in the 66, back to his teammate in the Britain West Motorsports number 6. Connor Kluban once again will follow in the tire tracks through turn number 6. He's running out of opportunities.
Jake Cowden really paid attention to Kluban and understood that, yes, when we go through 3 and out onto the backstretch, that's the opportunity. He paid particular attention getting through 3 and out onto the backstretch this time and was able to hold on. A little bit of a wiggle there just as they're going through corner number 9.
Yeah, and look, that allows the 6 to close up. I mean, it appears as though now, late in the race, the 66 is the one that is starting to wiggle, whereas before you saw a few twitches out of the 6 car of Connor Kluban. As they run nose to tail down into turn number 1. Just under 2 minutes to go. And Kluban once again shadowing his teammate off of turn number 3. Turn 6 is an opportunity. He's taken a look a couple of times. Will he do it this time? Carrying that speed. Look at Cowden put his hand up. He just either tore off a tear-off or just trying to get Kluban out of sorts on the entrance of turn number 6. Kluban will have another chance in 8, maybe 9 if he can make it work. Here's 8. It's not there. Solid corner exit from the driver, the 66, Jake Cowden, as he has done for nearly all 30 minutes of this race. Have a look at the hand going up from Jake Cowden. He didn't tear off a tear-off, so I think he's just sort of waving back and trying to take the attention of Connor Kluban behind him. In through lap traffic for the final time, or what will be the final time. Now, turn 3 and down the back straightaway. One more opportunity for Connor Kluban this time. The lap car got out of the way, but it did affect how close the 6 is to the 66.
Going into the left-hander, that's not close enough for that 6 of Connor Kluban to take a run. They drift out to driver's right to complete the turn and head for 7, the right-hander, and then corner number 8 as well. And that gap seems to have grown just a little bit.
Yeah, Kluban drove it a little bit too hard into turn number 6. Had to take all of that runoff area, almost more, almost collecting the concrete wall, but now he's tucked right up. This is where he's been so good. Turn number 9 and 10. Not there to make a move, and off of turn number 11, they'll see the front straightaway now, and they will see the checkered flag as Jake Cowden takes the win over his teammate Connor Klubine. As we wait for third place to come across. Big waves for the driver, the 66, as he wins his second race of the weekend here in the Formula 1600 Tour. Connor Klubine, he's frustrated, you can tell by his reaction inside the cockpit, but man, what a race he put in.
He had to work for it. That 66 of Jake Cowden really had to work for it. For the second half of this race, his teammate was following him in lockstep. They moved smartly through the field whenever they encountered lap traffic. That gap never really grew to a significant amount. That's a lot of pressure that you're feeling and mental attention and focus that's necessary to complete a race like that. Well done by the 66 of Jake Cowden.
Yeah, very, very tight race and a very clean race for those two drivers at the front of the field, not really putting a steering wheel wrong the entire distance. As we can now confirm that Callum Baxter has come across the line third in the number 65 as timing and scoring has been fixed, so that puts the number 6 of Connor Klubine up into second position. Sam Baker, who's had a very eventful day in the 51, led some, spun some, and then came back to finish fourth. Didier Schreinen in fifth, and Michel Bonnet in the 64-6. Connor Wagland in the 123 will be seventh. Henderson Knox, winner of the Pro-Am division, over Martin Brousseau in the 83. Duncan Murdoch in the 22. After Murdoch had problems in race number 1 last night, he'll be happy to finish this one and finish on the podium in the Pro-Am division.
Looking back, we had a good start and plenty of action up in front with those two Britain West cars making the big moves. Of course, was the 51 of Sam Baker, who went all the way up to first position briefly before surrendering it once again.
It was just a wild send into turn number 6, and it worked, but he lost the lead in turn number 8, and then he continued to lose positions as the Britain West Motorsports cars linked up nose to tail. They tracked down the leader, Marc-Antoine Cardin, and made their move in turn number 6 off of turn 3, and then Cardin obviously had slowed because he had some sort of issue under the fairing, so in the Honda engine department for Marc-Antoine Cardin. But yeah, it's been a hot one here today.
That was the Sam Baker and Jacob Moreau who tangled. It was Moreau who spun and Baker who spun just to avoid the contact. Nice work there. And then a good move by Sam Baker to get around the 94 of Didier Schreinen.
Yeah, good move to keep that engine running too, and able to keep going because he didn't lose a lot of space on the racetrack. The 51 coming back for fourth, but there is a glimpse of the finish. The 66 of Jake Cowden, your winner, followed by Connor Klubine and Callum Baxter. Britain West Motorsports trio here at the Grand Prix of Qualifiers for the Formula 1600 Tour. And we get set next for the qualifying session for the NASCAR Pinty Series. So that's coming up at 4 o'clock. So we have about 20 minutes before we get to that point. But next events on track will be the NASCAR Pinty Series, their second opportunity to turn left and right here today. But this one will be for qualifying positions for tomorrow's Russo Metals 60, presented by Julia Wines. For Todd Lewis, I'm Dave Bradley. Thank you very much for joining us for the Formula 1600s. Again, we'll return at 4 o'clock with the qualifying for the NASCAR Pinty Series.
Mesdames et messieurs, nous allons maintenant procéder à la cérémonie protocolaire de la course Formule 1600 Canada. Pour honorer les 3 premiers pilotes de la classe Pro, j'invite le président responsable de la série, M. Marcel Lafontaine. En 3e position, in third place, le numéro 65, Colum Baxter. En 2e position, in second place, le numéro 6, Connor Clubine. Et le gagnant pour une 2e journée consécutive, le numéro 66, the winner, Jake Cowden. Mesdames et messieurs, ceci complète la cérémonie protocolaire de la course Formule 1600 Canada. Restez avec nous pour la prochaine épreuve au programme dans la catégorie Super Production Challenge.
Bonjour amateurs de course sur le circuit du Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, 52e édition. Frédéric Beaulieu en compagnie de Gérard Saint-Germain. Gérard, le moment tant attendu en ce samedi avec une température qui est assez exceptionnelle, un temps assez exceptionnel également, mais c'est le moment tant attendu pour plusieurs amateurs de course.
Les qualifications préludent bien entendu à la grande finale qui aura lieu demain. On place les 4. Hein? On place les 4. On a tantôt, on l'a dit à maintes reprises, on a essayé toutes sortes de solutions pour tenter d'améliorer suspension, survirage, sous-virage. Et maintenant, on va écrire les vrais temps dans quelques minutes.
Et on a eu un bon aperçu des gens ce matin de ce qui allait peut-être se passer en qualification, notamment avec la performance de Louis-Philippe Dumoulin, qui est le seul en 2 ans sur ce circuit à avoir roulé en deçà de la minute 7 secondes.
Oui, puis on a vu la progression aussi. Hein? On a parti la journée à 1,12, 1,11. Après ça, ça s'est mis à descendre et tout. Et ce qui est à remarquer, c'est l'équipe du Moulin.
Voilà.
La première et deuxième position. 3e et 4e position, on retrouve une autre équipe. Paillé, alors avec Camiran et Rangé. Alors, c'est à voir là, en ce qui concerne ces qualifications.
Écoute, c'est un top 6 québécois. On retrouve par la suite Alex Tagliani également qui est là. Et aussi Kevin Lacroix, bien évidemment.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the 52nd running of the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. A short break on track as we get set to bring to you the qualifying for the NASCAR Pinty Series. We'll be hitting the track very, very shortly. I'm Dave Bradley. Todd Lewis joins me up in the booth for this call. And then a couple more races still to come today, post-qualifying for the Pinty Series at 5:10. That's when we'll go green for the Super Production Challenge. And you'll want to see the start of that one. It's a standing start here on the front straightaway. Essentially what they do is they make the front straightaway a parking lot, and then they say, go, get out of the parking lot as quickly as you can. And it absolutely looks like that. It's controlled chaos and sometimes uncontrolled chaos. But what a series and what an event they're able to put on here at the GP3R. So Super Production Challenge starts at 5:10, and then at 6:15 we'll wrap up today's activities with the final in the Chevrolet Urban Challenge. That's a 25-lap feature for the modifieds, the dirt modifieds on asphalt, and a number of guest drivers involved in that race, and it is going to be very exciting.
Yeah, a lot of activity and action on all of those series. The Super Production Challenge parking lot description, I think, is very appropriate, Dave. Just, yes, okay, everybody leave all at once. It's not an orderly fashion.
No.
So, but that's the great thing about a standing start. And then, of course, the dirt modifieds will be a lot of fun. We have seen them through practice and qualifying, and the last chance to make the field and set the grid. Turning right is still unusual in those cars. There's not a lot of right turns on this circuit, but there are a few, and it is a bit of a challenge. But we had a lot of good activity in the race a year ago, and we're expecting more of the same. But first up, of course, NASCAR Pinty Series qualifying set the field for tomorrow's 60-lap race during the practice session this morning. It was LP Dumoulin in the WeatherTech Dodge who posted the quickest time, a real blistering lap 2 in the 1:16.
Almost, actually, JF Dumoulin, as we're looking at the revised time, so for a short spell, it was 0.7 of a second quicker. It's now down to 0.3 of a second quicker. So still, that's a huge margin when you're talking about first to second, especially when you're talking about the NASCAR Pinty Series, which has been so close. But at the close of qualifying, unofficially, it looked like it was a 0.7 of a second gap. Not quite that large, but still under a minute 7 for LP Dumoulin. He's the only driver in the field to duck under that a minute 7 mark. JF Dumoulin, Marc-Antoine Cameron, Andrew Ranger, and Alex Tagliani, your top 5. And the top 5 all covered by about a second. So that's, by comparison terms in the NASCAR Pinty Series, that is a pretty big gap than what we've been seeing, but it is just practice. Qualifying will tell a different story.
And we will have JF Dumoulin and LP Dumoulin, 2 of the cars with that team. LP Montour is the 3rd member of that team who ran earlier this season at CTMP and had himself a very good run also in Toronto. And Jacques Villeneuve is the 4th member of that team driving the 07 car this weekend. Showed some speed, but ended the practice session early. Found out a little bit later on this morning that they were having some brake issues with that car. So that's part of the trouble and why they were ending their session early to diagnose and come up with solutions to those issues.
Yeah, get a little extra time to work on that. Villeneuve will go out in the 2nd group of qualifying. So the field is split into groups based on their practice speed. So essentially, the cars that you practiced around are the cars that you will qualify around. And that's an effort to give everybody a relatively clean lap. You don't want somebody out there who is like 2 or 3 seconds off the pace. You look back to like TJ Renato, he's struggled a little bit here today, but he's actually not doing too badly. Glenn Stiers has been, learning the track and learning the trade. Those are not typical drivers that you would see excel on a road or street circuit. So for the front runners, I mean, they'll have to do it in the race, but in qualifying, it's nice to have a clean track and get that clean run. So they limit the number of cars on the track at the same time.
Simply to help with the traffic as well. You're having to dodge around 11 turns plus 20 plus other competitors. It's just too much in terms of qualifying. So, and in the first group, it looks like it's going to be Larry Jackson, Dominic St. Cyr, who is attempting to make his first Pinty Series start, Simon Dionviens, Brandon Watson, a rookie to the series, Mark Dilley, Serge Bordeaux, who is also making his first start to the series, TJ Renato, Glenn Stiers, and Wallace Stacy. That will be the first group up.
Yeah, so you mentioned Dominic St. Cyr. He's driving the number 3 EHR car, a car normally campaigned by Brett Taylor. He's behind the wheel here this weekend, and a couple of people saying that he may surprise you how well he'll do here. He's a veteran of the superbike world, so he's not afraid of going fast. Has done a lot of kart racing as well. So that is a driver that we'll sort of keep an eye on as a question mark for this race. Serge Bordeaux, brand new driver to the series, has already visited the tire wall in practice, so that's out of the way. But brand new race car too, and the race car looks really top notch from Excellence Chrysler backing that team. So it'll be interesting to see how these drivers come along here in qualifying. Now they have an hour session under their belt. I know a few of the drivers were going around, the Sports Car Canada paddock and maybe even the Super Production paddock, and you're talking to some of the drivers and you're like, tell me, can you just give me some tips? Can you coach me a little bit and show me where to go and how to go fast? And drivers like Brandon Watson trying to get that little bit of coaching to just say, you got to watch for this corner, or this one you want to enter here rather than there, and you're driving it in too deep there, back it up a little bit.
Drivers with road and street course experience and a lot of knowledge in terms of how to get around quickly, you're going to want to tap into that and try to ask some questions, get some help and some assistance. Drivers are pretty much open to doing that, whether they're competitors in the same series or whether, as you mentioned, from another series as well. You'll have conversations about trying to improve. Everyone's trying to improve their performance, and that's what we'll see here. Even during the practice session, we noticed a couple of times drivers following other successful and more experienced drivers around the course. Alex Gannett and Andrew Ranger come to mind. Ranger, of course, has 4 victories here, so that's somebody you're going to want to follow to get the quick line around.
You can see pictures of Jacques Villeneuve Sr. running in the Legends Series here this weekend. Jacques Villeneuve Jr., the former Formula One world champion, running in the NASCAR Pinty Series as the cars out on track. We were waiting for them to start, and now they do as we go to live pictures here at the facility. Larry Jackson, the first 2 cross the line. This will be the first group of qualifying. There's an hour track time set aside for all 3 groups of qualifying. And you can see the green flag has been displayed. So nobody's going to go out and just automatically hammer down and get going fairly quickly. You want to go through your preparation, scrub your tires a little bit, get some heat into it, and then you can slowly pick up the pace. So probably next time around is when you'll see the cars start to get on the gas.
It's kind of like pancakes. The first lap around is never going to be the good one. It's going to be the ones that come after that you improve, get just the right amount of batter, the right amount of heat, and they come out perfect. Never thought of that, but it does actually.
It's a really good analogy.
And pancakes.
I do love pancakes. So now you can hear the rev start to pick up as Larry Jackson, the O'Neill Electric Dodge Challenger, will head towards turn number 6. And there you can see the VR St. Cyr, number 3 of Dominic St. Cyr, out of the Ed Hackinson Racing stable. So that's a very good race car to get into. And not only that, you have a lot of smart people around you. You have, Jamie Hackinson, you have Jason Hathaway, and they've all been around this sport for a long period of time, and they can give you tips and give you help.
And Jason Hathaway was one of those drivers with that great experience, winning pedigree as well. Won a bunch of races, won on street courses and on ovals as well. So that's a resource.
See the 84 of Larry Jackson now up to speed. He was way out in the dirty area of the racetrack, but now he's on the gas. These laps do count 4 times every time they cross the stripe. So the O'Neill Electric ABB number 84 heads down the back straightaway first. And this is actually a good thing. You do want a clean track ahead of you. So Jackson not having anybody around you, you don't necessarily need anybody to chase. You can just have that clean track, not worry about people behind you, just go, lay down your lap.
Take a lap or so just to get the tires up to temperature as mentioned. Make sure that you're into a comfortable setting and a comfortable rhythm. Once you run through a lap or two, the temperature will build up. Second, third, maybe the 4th lap is probably about the number you're going to get before the performance levels off on these general tires.
Lap number 1 under speed, a 110.4 for Larry Jackson. And that is right around where he practiced. He was a 110 flat in practice. Dominic St. Cyr, a 110.3, so he'll go quickest right now. St. Cyr also a little bit off his practice time. Of course, practice, you could set a number of laps and start building up your speed. Some of these drivers did over 30 laps in practice earlier on today.
Not necessarily what you're looking for. 37 is just ahead of Mark Dilley in that number 64 machine. Only you want a clear space. Had reasonable levels of success here. He's had top 10 finishes here at Trois Rivières and running a limited schedule. Dismiss that number 37 Castro car.
Brandon Watson quickest now, a 110.1 last time he crossed the stripe. There is the GMS Sheer Metals number 9 of Brandon Watson. Again, last time he raced consistently on road courses. When he was a go-karter, he was 13 years old. 12 years old, as a matter of fact. He started racing stock cars when he was 13.
Now that's a driver that has sought out some experience and watching video, getting some coaching, trying to find the best way around. You get the perspective looking at the video first of all, and then once you get into the car, as he would have done earlier today, it's going to feel and look a little bit different from the driver's seat. So again, there's that comfort level you have to the and Brandon Watson has found a little bit of 110.1.
And there's a 109.4 now for Brandon Watson, a little bit quicker as he sends the tail in, has to lock up the back end just a little bit on that Chevy Camaro. Dominic St. Cyr drops down to second. Larry Jackson, a 109.8, so that's even quicker than he was able to accomplish in practice. A 55 of Serge Bordeaux, a 111.955. That's his quickest time. He saw that a little bit of damage. They did manage to get it repaired. As St. Cyr, can he go quicker? One more time. Not that time, a 109.7. So he still has a 109.479 is his quickest time. Puts him second on the timesheets. So Jackson and Dominic St. Cyr, two drivers that have gone quicker. Brandon Watson has gone significantly quicker. His quickest time in practice was a 110.5. So he's almost beaten it by, well, he's beaten it by over a second at this point.
So that would be pleasing for Brandon Watson to see that, yes, when you need to have a couple of quick laps, he's been able to put that in. Understanding, too, that there's still lots of room for improvement in terms of driving these stock cars on the city streets. This is the first attempt at that in his previous experience being in go-karts.
St. Cyr with backing from Dagobert as well. And now you can start to see the tires giving up just a little bit as he starts to abuse those General tires. Smoke out of the right front corner going through turn 10. And yeah, no, 109.6, so he loses another 0.2 of a second from his previous lap. So it looks like about 3 laps will be it for the goodie in the tires. Drivers are staying out to continue to turn laps, but whether or not they're turning fast laps remains to be seen, although TJ Renamato just went quickest for his lap on his 4th attempt in that Palamo RGC Group's number 2.
There's a driver that's come into the series over the last couple of years. You see the left front lifting up there as TJ is coming through that left-hander. But you can see that he's taken some steps in progression and improved his performance as well. Finishing races, that was a bit of a challenge early on coming into the series, but as he developed his racecraft a little bit, some experience and understanding how to care for the car over the life of a race, and his performance has started to step forward.
Had a chat with TJ yesterday morning as he arrived at the track. He had a big hit in Saskatoon in the second Twin 125, or actually in the first one, and completely rode off that race car. It was a twisted piece, but I'm like, are you a twisted piece? Are you okay? And TJ said, yeah, I'm okay. A 108 now. 8 for Brandon Watson, your provisional pole sitter at this point. That is a huge gain from practice to now. So if you think about that, that puts Brandon Watson up to around the top 12 or 13 after practice. So that is a huge increase.
And that's the kind of performance improvement that you want to look for. A rookie in this series who wants to win the rookie title, hanging around in the top 5, 6, 7 of the championship as well. This next few races will be the real test for Brandon, because we're on the road course here at GP3R, the dirt track, and then of course we have the circuit I-Car that will come up, and then Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So a lot of left and right turns that are going to be taking place, and I do mean that on the dirt track as well, because we'll make right-hand turns.
You got to turn right to turn left, yeah.
Keep the car pointed straight, but that is a nice qualifying effort for Brandon Watson, the rookie.
Yeah, big gains for the driver, the number 9. He did say he was looking forward to going back to CTMP, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, for a second time. He said he felt a lot more comfortable there without walls on both sides. It's pretty daunting when you're a rookie and you've got that sort of punishment sort of hanging over your head if you do set a foot wrong.
37, the Simone Bianviens has called it a qualifying session. Once the cars do turn to pit lane, they are not permitted to go back out on track again. So once you make that determination that you run your number of laps, however many you decide that will be, and turn into pit lane, that is the end of your qualifying session. And you just sit and watch now for the rest of it. This first group will have a couple more groups to wait and see when where their times finish up. So that's nice to see that 55 car back out of Serge Bordeaux went by there and they were working on it. Didn't look that the damage was too severe. He did drive away from the impact earlier this morning in the practice session. So
that appeared to be body damage, and now it's affecting essentially the wrap on that car, the coloring, and all the body is straight. It just got put back together. So did fit together. Yeah, the question mark was around that right front corner where he stuffed it into the tire wall in turn number 8, right? It's turn 6, so the next corner. He just took a little bit too much speed, went through the runoff area, and came together with the tire wall. But again, it's all part of the learning. These are very difficult cars to drive.
Especially when this is your first event and this is your first ride in one of these cars. That is a lot of new to absorb in a short period of time.
Serge Bordeaux off the pace, as is TJ Renamato behind him. They will find pit lane as 10 minutes complete now. And the first qualifying group is pretty much clear of the track. Yeah, that is it for the first qualifying group. The black and red flags together indicating to the field that this session is done, and we await the next session to join us out on track.
They'll come out pretty quickly, but as mentioned, Brandon Watson with the quickest time in this first group of cars with a 108.8. significant jump up from his practice times. Dominic St. Cyr, Larry Jackson, the top 3. Then Simone Dion-Viens, Mark Dilley, Serge Bordeaux, TJ Renamato, Wallace Stacey, and Glenn Stiers are the 9 from group number 1.
Green flag is out as group number 2 heads out onto the track.
Those are the times for the first group that were out on track that you're seeing now. Brandon Watson, as you mentioned, with the quickest time. And just as we saw in the first group, a lap or so for cars to get up to temperature in terms of tires and fluids inside, driver to get comfortable and settled. That's the 39 of Alex Gannett, who is out on course that we're following around for his first lap.
Gannett's a driver that could play the role of spoiler here this weekend. She's got a good car prepared out of the Dave Jacobs Racing Shop in that Moto Limited number 39. Good looking car too, the Ford Fusion. It'll be the last of the Ford Fusions as we've now sort of transitioned to the Ford Mustang bodies here in the NASCAR Pinty Series.
Which look terrific, by the way.
Yeah, they do, 100%.
That's Alex Gannett. The rest of this group is Sam Fellows, Jacques Villeneuve in the 07, Gary Clute, Dexter Stacey, J.P. Bergeron, Matthew Kingsbury, Ray Choupo-Motomash, and L.P. Montour in the 13 car.
There's a good look at Villeneuve as the team had to do some repairs to the braking area, and they've got that car packed full of fuel. You can see it overflowing out of the fuel cell as he works through turn number 1. And now down towards turn number 3 goes Villeneuve, and that Prolon controls 07. So this group is yet to set competitive times. Well, they're starting to get there.
Doesn't look like Jacques is really waiting around to try to put down a quick qualifying lap. He's hustling that car now around here at the circuit of the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Through that left-hander in corner number 8.
Yeah, and here we go. We've got a few changes to the running order. So Alex Gannett goes second quickest, Sam Fellows to 4th. Simon Dion-Viens to 6th quickest. Ray Jr. Courtemanche 10th now, Wallace Stacey 11th. So there have been a few changes waiting for Jacques Villeneuve, and he comes up 6th quickest on the time charts. Brandon Watson still your provisional pole sitter. Now Gary Clute goes quickest. As I say that, Brandon Watson gets pushed down to 2nd place.
Get one lap in, get the tires warmed up, and the second lap should be quicker and more competitive. And then it'll be 3, 4. Will you do 5? I don't know how many of these members of this next group will. It's a good performance so far by Sam Fellows in that number 98 car for Curve Records. That is a very nice forward. They did not make the trip out west. Had an exchange with Sam who said that no, they were going to pass on that and decided they'd do some testing and believed that they had found some improvements in the car, and he certainly demonstrated that during the practice.
Coming to the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières with a brand new sponsor in Polysleep as well, which is great news, attracting new marketing partners to the NASCAR Pinty Series as the Bullies truck stop number 92 of Dexter Stacey continues on track, currently 11th quickest. So it's Gary Clute, a 108.0. So a 108 flat for the driver of the 59, and that will be a significant pickup for Gary Clute as well. That's about 0.8 of a second he picked up from practice to now.
Alex Gannett second, Jacques Villeneuve third early in the running with 108.6, his best time so far.
Yeah, so even that's a pickup compared to practice earlier on today. Gannett, Villeneuve, Kingsbury, Brandon Watson still in the top 5. Ray Jr., Courtemanche, Sam Fellows, Dominic St. Cyr, Dexter Stacey, and JP Bergeron.
Watching Gary Clute continue to hustle that number 59 across the track and bouncing a little bit over the curving as he heads towards the start-finish line to put another time in. So these drivers now reaching about that lap 4, lap 5 mark. And how hard are they going to push it? Are they going to accept what they've been able to extract from the car so far? Or will they try to push for one more lap? Gary Clute, Alex Gannett, Jacques Villeneuve, Sam Fellows now up to 4th in the qualifying. Well done.
Yeah, that's a really good run for the driver, the AER number 98. Look at the wheel that the 07 of Jacques Villeneuve had to put into that one. Here's a driver who's struggling just a little bit in LP Montour. He's currently 12th, 110.2. Expected big things out of him here today. He's run well in the past in the NASCAR Pinty Series. He just hasn't been able to get up to speed in this Kamloops number 13.
Watching now as the traffic thickens out just a little bit. A number of drivers have decided that yes, 4 laps or 5 laps is going to be enough for them. Well, some of the drivers trying to find a little more speed into their final qualifying run. Gary Clute in the 59 posts a 107.9. First driver under the 108 mark just to wrap his section up.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look, that's a full second quicker than he did in practice. So either the track has sped up or the drivers have found something by tuning on their race car after practice. Alex Gannett, a 108.1. That's a significant pickup for that driver as well. About a 0.4 of a second pickup. So if everything holds true that all these drivers are going to pick up this considerable amount of time, when it comes to LP, when it comes to JF Dumoulin, when it comes to Marc-Antoine Cameron, if we can expect a pickup of 0.4 of a second, 0.3 of a second even, we're going to be in the 106.6s for LP Dumoulin.
That will be worth waiting for one more group. That's Matthew Kingsbury, who is off the pace and slowing down and headed to pit lane. His qualifying run is coming to a conclusion. 13 of LP Montour continues out on course.
It's a pretty good run for Kingsbury, though. We saw him as he slowed down. He's currently 5th quickest on track, and that's a driver who doesn't normally run on road and street circuits. Normally an oval track late model driver. Has done a few starts with the NASCAR Pinty Series, mostly on ovals, but to bring a car out here and run as quick as he has all through practice and now into qualifying is a top-notch job for the Duro King number 12.
The 13 of LP Montour, who is a pretty good road racer, and maybe try to pick up a little extra something. Montour, though, hasn't really been able to crack the top 10 yet. 12th, I believe. Yes, 12th in terms of his time so far. Sam Fellows, though, 4th quickest so far in the cars that have taken time, the 18 that have been out on course.
That last lap for the driver of the 13 was his quickest so far. He went to a 110 flat. Did not improve his position, but definitely helped him out in the quest to close the gap. He's still chasing Larry Jackson, who sits in 11th position. There's Ray Jr. Courtemanche will head off into the pit lane, so his qualifying effort is done, and I believe this will pretty much end this qualifying session for group number 2. That should be about 10 minutes in the books. As you see the Ray Jr. investment. Fast Eddie Speedwear number 8 of Courtemanche come to a rest, and the crew automatically goes to work taking a look at those tires and finding out how they have worn, how much they've grown as well. With the temperatures out here starting to get even warmer, but fans, they don't care. They've come out in droves here for the NASCAR Pinty Series, and Gary Clute, currently your pole sitter. The only driver under 108 at this point. Alex Gannett, Jacques Villeneuve, Sam Fellows, Matthew Kingsbury, and Brandon Watson coming out of the first group. So Watson is the only one in the first group who has managed to hold on to the top 10.
Dominic St. Cyr, the 3-car as well, was also
that's right.
in group number 1 and is currently 9th. So some impressive runs from those first group of drivers. And there's Gary Clute, who's climbed out of the 59, and now he'll wait for the final group to go out on course and see what they can find.
Always good to look at your competition and find out what they're doing. That's what Gary Clute does. Chat with Jacques Villeneuve. Gary Clute actually has a popular podcast, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's making a connection there for a future podcast guest. But they call him the Smiling Assassin, Gary Clute. He had a victory snatched away from him at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park earlier this year in the final turn with the 74 of Kevin Lacroix getting into the back of him, and then Gary Clute getting into the wall, and it just ended in a big mess. But no payback yet.
But we're back at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in a few weeks, and we'll see if there is a return engagement between those two. Green flag being displayed at the start-finish line. And our final group of NASCAR Pinty Series cars set for qualifying, just about ready to return. And here's how they'll line up. LP Dumoulin, followed by JF Dumoulin, Marc-Antoine Cameron, Andrew Ranger, Alex Tagliani, Kevin Lacroix, DJ Kennington, and Trayton Lapsevich. That's the final group that will be out on track. Those were the fastest cars in this morning's practice. They are the last group out. We would expect some very fast times. Just about everyone has improved significantly from their practice this morning. How much will these drivers improve in the afternoon session? That is the big question, as the two Dumoulin brothers, the first out of the pits in the WeatherTech number 47, that's LP Dumoulin. And a brand new sponsor coming on board for the 04 team here this year, Casino Grand Royale Wallinac and Groupe Belmar. It's the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron, and a very similar looking car to the 27 of Andrew Ranger, the 4-time winner here at Trois-Rivières. The easiest way, mentioned it this morning, that I find to tell them apart is the roof of the 27 car is red, and the 96 car, the roof is white. Interesting on the 47 of LP Dumoulin. Look at the grill. We mentioned that in practice earlier on today. He's got a really large grill space at the front of the car. He has gone out with tape on it, and he is one of the only drivers to have a significant amount of tape to block off the cooling fins of that grill. Normally what happens in the NASCAR Pinty Series is that gets taped off and there's only a small band on it that's open. Essentially creates better aerodynamics. A lot of the air doesn't go under the hood and bog down things. So Dumoulin is trying to tape it up. So he's probably only got a few really good laps in there before temperatures will start to rise on this very hot day. But something to watch here. He is the first one on it, coming through the final couple of corners. And then he will trip the timing line and start his first real qualifying lap out. As we have seen in the previous couple of groups, it's normally the second or third lap before you get the really quick time. Watch the master at work, LP Dumoulin. Talking to him earlier today, and he said he can remember sitting here as a child watching every single year in the crowd and saying, one year I'm going to race in this race. And not only has he raced here, but he's won here as well in the NASCAR Pinty Series. His brother JF Dumoulin would love to do the same. JF has put in some very, very quick times in that car too, for running only a limited schedule. Now, he hasn't been out of performance driving or a race car, but he's just been out of the NASCAR Pinty Series for a little while. Doing a lot of other work with different series and driver coaching. And JF 2 races ago, he finished 3rd. Last year, he finished 2nd. We looked at each other and glanced at each other yesterday, and he held up one finger and said, okay, first this time. That's the goal. As you see his brother LP doing a little bit of a slide there for career number 1.
LP Dumoulin goes quickest to 1:07.1 compared to Marc-Antoine Cameron's 1:07.3. LP Dumoulin goes 3rd quickest and knocks down. Now Ranger goes to number 2. Kevin Lacroix goes to number 4. A huge jumble at the front of the field as Gary Kloot gets pushed down to 7th. DJ Cannington, Trayton Lapcevich in the top 10. So Jacques Villeneuve gets pushed down to 11th spot. Alex Guinnett just ahead of him in 10th.
Second lap through, that's the time. That's when the times really start to come down as we're looking at the 27 of Andrew Ranger, 4-time winner here at Trois-Rivières. His worst finish, though, came last year when he had brake issues. We'll see if he can rebound this year and have a more Andrew Ranger-like finish, which is usually 1st or 2nd, because that's what he's done most of the time.
Yeah, and Alex Tagliani, the car that's just behind him on track 2, has been so solid here at the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières, and is coming off a win in Saskatoon. A new quick time, another driver underneath the 107 mark, and it's Marc-Antoine Cameron. Andrew Ranger, a 1:07.1, and now Kevin Lacroix, brand new bullet under the hood, and he goes quickest. A 1:06.9 for Kevin Lacroix as LP Dumoulin goes 1:07.1, and now he's 3rd quickest. I thought that 1:07.1 would hold up.
That's the new look of the 74 of Kevin Lacroix with those Napa blue and gold colors. DJ Kennington rolling up behind him. But it is Kevin Lacroix with the quick time at the moment, 2 100ths quicker than Marc-Antoine Cameron.
Incredible how close it is. Kevin Lacroix and crew changed an engine between qualifying and practice earlier on today. So they finished practice and they said something is not right. We need to change this out. They went to work and did it in the time in between. They had about 3 hours, which is plenty of time for these NASCAR crews. And Kevin Lacroix getting a new engine, and it appears as though to be working very well, firing on all cylinders in the early going. So not quite as quick this time around as he managed to set. It looks like he might be done now. He's off the pace and slowing down as they work their way into slower traffic. So there is really no point in staying on it and wearing out your tires. So 4 laps officially for Kevin Lacroix, and it appears as though that's going to be it. Now, is the 47 on another lap of record? He might be. Sounds like it.
Keep an eye. It sounds like he is at full song as he's making his way through. Keep an eye on these final couple of cars. And sometimes they'll run a couple of quick laps, take a breather, and then when the traffic thins near the end of the qualifying session, try to put down one more quick one. LP Dumoulin seems to be doing that now. Alex Tagliani is another notorious for coming late. A little bit of debris out on the track coming out of the final corner, but it is off the racing line and not affecting anyone. LP Dumoulin climbs up to 3rd quickest.
Yeah, so that one not quite as quick as his fastest time at this point, a 1:07.6 for LP Dumoulin. So whatever he got out of those general tires, and again, I mean, the tires don't drop off all that dramatically as far as the wear goes. They're not worn out after 4 laps is what we're trying to say. You have a lot of goodness, just like when you have a brand new tire on your street car. It sticks a lot better in the snow and in the rain. And then it gets a little bit older, it doesn't stick quite as good, but it's not near worn out. That's the same case with these general tires. You have a little bit of goodness where it sticks really well, and then it drops off a little bit after that and sort of maintains that next pace for a considerable amount of time.
74 of Kevin Lacroix, who is making way down to the end of pit lane. Looks like we have 1 or 2 cars out of course, and that is the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron, who might want to have one more go at this to see if he can snag the pole position.
Well, like you say, under 2 100ths of a second, the difference between first and second. And that is your second place driver right now, the GM Paye, number 96, Marc-Antoine Cameron, chasing the 74 of Kevin Lacroix, who is down pit lane. So he has done a sail through turn number 8 as the back end slides, and the 96 now pins it to the inside in turn 9, hard on the gas, weaving through turn 10 onto turn 11. He'll bang the curb off turn 11 onto the front straightaway. Keep an eye on the stopwatch. Not fast enough. 107.8 for Marc-Antoine Cameron on his final last-ditch effort. Alex Tagliani's on a flyer too. 107.4, so almost as quick as his fastest lap, but he'll have to settle for a 107.2 and 5th place to start the Rousseau Medals 60 presented by Julia Wines.
This last group put in some blistering laps, and they came in rather quick sequence as well. With LP Dumoulin throwing down a quick flyer, and then it was Marc-Antoine Cameron, Andrew Ranger who was up close, but Kevin Lacroix with a 106.9 up on top.
Getting the new hats on, as you saw Don Thompson Jr., his crew chief, in there chatting with his driver, and going to jump back and chat with DJ Kennington. So Kennington came, the 7th spot for DJ is not bad either.
No, that's very acceptable.
C'est toujours bon partir premier ici, c'est assez serré.
Ouvre ton micro. Ouvre ton micro. Hey Andre, it ain't over yet. Oh, it is now. Yeah, it is. Excuse. Oh, okay.
And it looks like the qualifying session for the third group, everybody's cleared from the track, so that is going to be it.
Oui, c'est toujours plaisant
Kevin
de partir
Lacroix,
premier
your
ici,
pole
c'est assez
sitter
serré.
here at
Donc,
the Grand Prix of
on va
Qualifiers.
essayer de se donner un petit coussin à l'avant. On restait hors dehors des problèmes. Puis, je suis vraiment content. La nouvelle couleur aujourd'hui, premier week-end avec les couleurs de Napa pièces d'auto. Donc, vraiment content de mettre ça sur la pole position pour commencer.
À quoi tu t'attends demain comme course?
Ça t'a gagné. Il faut toujours gagner, mais non. Je veux dire, c'est sûr qu'on aime ça. S'il y a une course dans l'année qu'on veut gagner, c'est ici au Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Puis partir premier, ça l'aide toujours. Mais en même temps, c'est rare qu'un détenteur de pole gagne. Donc, je vais essayer de renverser la tendance un peu. Puis on va espérer de gagner. Mais je veux dire, un podium serait bien.
Félicitations et bonne chance.
Merci beaucoup.
His number one goal is to win, is what Kevin Lacroix said, but then he chuckled and said, well, we're looking at the big picture too, and we'd like to finish. He comes into this one just 1 point up in the lead for the standings of the NASCAR Pinty Series here in 2022.
He has navigated the road and street circuits perfectly so far this year. The winner at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and also the winner on the streets of Toronto, looking to keep that streak intact as well.
And that win on the streets of Toronto, he made it look easy. He essentially put it on cruise control for the entire race. He had Andrew Ranger on his back bumper for a lot of it, but he didn't really have to fight too hard for it. As we take a look at the top 10 qualifiers here for the NASCAR Pinty Series, Lacroix, Cameron, LP Dumoulin, Ranger, Tagliani, JF Dumoulin. A little bit of a surprise to see him down in 6th spot. DJ Kennington, Trayton Lapsovich, Gary Clute, and Alex Gannett. Gary Clute coming out of that second qualifying group, so he'll be happy with 9th place for sure. Gannett also coming out of that second qualifying group, and Jacques Villeneuve did as well. So Villeneuve will come to the start in 11th spot. Sam Fellows in 12th. Matthew Kingsbury in 13th. Brandon Watson gained huge from practice to qualifying in the 9. He'll start 14th. Ray Jr. Quartermanche 15th. That's a good qualifying effort for that team. Jean-Philippe Bergeron in the 1 will start 16th. Then it's Dominic St. Cyr, his first race in a NASCAR Pinty Series car, 17th starting position. He'll be happy with that. Dexter Stacey, Larry Jackson, LP Montour, Simon Dion-Vienne, Mark Dilley, Serge Bordeaux, and TJ Rinamato, along with Wallace Stacey and Glenn Stiers. That will be your starting lineup for the Rousseau Medals 60 presented by Julia Wines.
Team scurrying about the cars, taking measurements, checking tire pressures, having a quick debrief with their drivers. They'll clear these NASCAR Pinty Series cars out of the way momentarily, but now the teams will go to work to prepare for 60 laps of on-track action. And in what kind of conditions, we'll have to wait till tomorrow to see. It has been very hot, very sunny, very dry all day today. Who's to say if that will be the set of circumstances that lie ahead for tomorrow?
Well, let's just be the devil's advocate, and let's have a look at the weather app here and see what it might do come tomorrow. So you bring up Trois-Rivières, Quebec, and it's looking like 11 a.m., 70% chance of showers. Race time is 2 p.m. Do we want to say it? 90% chance of showers, 100% at 3 p.m. So it looks like this could, in fact, be a wet race. But now what do? You set it up for dry to qualify, but you're going to want a completely different setup, a wet one, for the race tomorrow.
So what they should do is put it in the box and leave it alone until tomorrow. And if you need to change it, then make the changes tomorrow. Don't mess with it right now.
Because there's one thing constant with weather, and that's change. It will not stay the same between now and then. So we could have beautiful sunshine, and crossing our fingers we do, for the 52nd running of the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières come tomorrow. But it could be a lot different as far as conditions go come tomorrow at race time. 2 o'clock is when the NASCAR Pinty Series will hit the track.
But an interesting starting grid as well. You ran through them there, and just jumping out at me, the 59 of Gary Kloop will start 9th. Alex Gannett will start 10th in that number 39 car, and Jacques Villeneuve will be 11th. They may still have a little bit of work to do in the braking system of that car. Strong qualifying efforts from Sam Fellows. He rolls off 12. That will be good to see. Dexter Stacey starting back in the 18th position in that 92 car, but we have seen him make progress through the field, and especially here at GP3R, he has done well. Had his career best finish earlier this season on the road course at CTMP when he was on the podium.
And that was in what kind of conditions? But wet weather conditions from the 92 of Dexter Stacey. So if there's anybody doing the rain dance in the paddock area tonight, it'll be the driver of the 92 for sure. He'll have a lot of work to do, though, starting 18th, and keeping his nose clean will be a big challenge here, because this facility is very different from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. If you spin out at CTMP, you spin out into the grass. Here, if you spin out, you're probably blocking the track, and the rest of the field is still coming.
Yeah, so there will be discussions, I'm sure, about how to handle the race tomorrow with Dexter Stacey and his EHR teammates, along with the rest of the field as well. 26 starters here. Biggest field, I believe, is it since 2016 that we have had here at GP3R, which is sensational to see.
Really is, and we're looking forward to it. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with the Super Production Challenge and their second race of the weekend. That one starting at 10 after 5 here tonight. Thanks you once again for joining us for the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières. The Pinty Series qualifying is in the books. Next up, again, the Super Production Challenge, and we'll see you just after 5 o'clock.
Mesdames, Messieurs, place à la compétition en Super Production Challenge. Pour prononcer l'invitation traditionnelle à lancer les moteurs de la compagnie Réseau Fixe, son vice-président national, M. Sylvain Séguin.
Pilotes, démarrez vos moteurs. Drivers, start your engines.
And welcome back to the Grand Prix of Qualifiers. I'm Dave Bradley. Along with me is Todd Lewis up here in the booth as we get set to bring to you the second to last race of the day here on a Saturday, and a beautiful day for racing it has been here at the 52nd running of the Grand Prix de Qualifiers. And now we get set for the Super Production Challenge, and this is a unique series. We saw them run their first event last night. They'll run another one again tomorrow. So 3 events total, 3 races total for this series. It's got 3 different classes mixed in. You've got Super Production, Production, and Compact. And what makes it unique mostly is that the start of the race is a standing start. So all the cars they're allowed to go around, do 1 slow warm-up lap, so to build a little bit of heat in those tires. But essentially, when the lights go out, it is really anybody's race, and anything can happen on that standing start. We've seen tires spin from front-wheel drive cars. We've seen tires spin from rear-wheel drive cars, and positions swap like crazy.
And we normally see cars span out 2, 3, 4 wide heading in corner number 1. You have the same thing happen in the Super Production Challenge, except they're coming from a standing start. So you have very different speeds of cars that are approaching the corner. You still have to make that right-hander to make that long run down towards corner number 2. So it was a great race yesterday. Expect plenty of action right from the start. The standing start here today, because we have all these cars, these 40 cars lined up out on the grid shortly.
Yeah, so we're taking a look through the fields as to where the drivers will line up. I'm seeing my grid, and then I'm seeing cars on track that are a little bit shuffled from what we are seeing, but we can tell you that the Super Production cars are the ones that will be starting towards the front of the field. Eric Hogenschertz in the 11, that's a BMW. You've got Olivier Bedard in the Nissan 370. He'll start alongside, according to my list. Olivier Bedard really able to cruise his way to the win just last night here in the Super Production Challenge. But you also have the production cars, which look a little bit different. Many of them don't have the big tail wing on it, but almost as quick, about 220 wheel horsepower compared to 300 for the Super Production. And the compact class, so 100 wheel horsepower. And then, of course, the cars balanced by power to weight as well. So if you do have more power, then you have to add on extra weight. All of them are 2-wheel drive. The Super Production cars allowing paddle shift no older than 15 years old are the Super Production cars. The production class is a 2-wheel drive, 4 or 6 cylinders, 17-inch wheels. And then the compact class is a lot like the Nissan Micra Cup. You have Toyota Echo Cup cars, the Honda Mission Challenge Series. So finding a home for some of these old race cars that don't have a series is exactly what they've done with the compact class as well. But there you can see the grid painted on the front straightaway here at the Grand Prix of Qualifiers. And it looks like that might be a result of the inverts, and that's why we're seeing the grid has been changed up. So the fast time would pull a pill and see how many cars get inverted, and it looks like it will be 6 cars inverted, as Eric Hogenschertz had the quickest time in the yellow BMW, the number 11 back there, in 6th position. So getting set now, the field will line up into their starting positions, getting some compact cars squared away. And this is where it gets very, very interesting. Waiting for the lights to go out, waiting for the start here in the Super Production Challenge Series here at the Grand Prix of Qualifiers. Drivers slowly starting to build their revs. This is where the anticipation starts to build, too, for these drivers, waiting to drop the clutch. Marc-Andre Bourdage in that number 6, the Honda Civic, alongside Gabriel Lacombe in the 03. That is your front row with Jimmy Briere, who finished on the second step of the podium, coming home second in that Hyundai Genesis. The number 12 will start third, and then it's Marc Aru in the number 24 in fourth spot. This is a long time sitting on the grid for these cars and drivers, as they've had to line up nearly 40 cars here on the front straightaway into turn number 11. And waiting to see the words as the firefighters here at Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières having a little fun with the crowd as we go green and a land rush start into turn number 1. Whoa, and we got contact already. Jimmy Briere jammed it down the inside in the 12. It looks like he might come out on top in turn number 2. Bourdage in the Honda Civic will drop back into second spot.
Yes, that 12 car does look like it's coming through as they're now tiptoeing, some going too wide through the arch in corner number 3, but at a very slow speed to ensure that they both get through. And yes, looks like that number 12 has taken over the top spot as they head towards corner number 6 in the left-hander.
You can see the damage, though, to the left front corner of the number 12. They hit significantly hard going into turn number 1. Jimmy Briere was there, and I don't think the 6 saw him. Marc-Andre Bourdage sort of turned in like he normally would, and all of a sudden there was a car there.
Exactly what I was going to say. I don't believe that he saw the 12 of Jimmy Briere coming through the inside, and they just kind of bumped off one another. And both were able to continue at speed, it seems, without any effects, although you see just a little puff of smoke there, and you hope that it's not a tire rub that's going to cause a bigger problem later on.
Saw the 03 of Gabriel Lacombe sliding back as Olivier Bedard, the winner of race number 1, moves up into the top 3 now in that Nissan 370Z. So Jimmy Briere still with that damage to the nose of the Hyundai Genesis, holding off the Honda Civic of Marc-Andre Bourdage from Saint-Colomban, Quebec, driving for Lombardi Racing and Perry Performance. The Honda Civic Type R, the FK8. So very close to the Sports Car Championship Canada cars that we saw earlier on today. Running is that number 6, running in second position.
After the initial bump into corner number 1, the 12 leads the 6. Jimmy Briere leads Marc-Andre Bourdage, and everybody seems to have gotten single file pretty much throughout the field right now, and just kind of settling in to see where this one goes after that initial little bit of contact at the front of the field. You know, this race doesn't have quite the feeling of the intensity of race number 1 here for the Super Production Challenge, as you saw some black smoke from the 12 of Jimmy Briere. Believe that might be a diesel powered engine. And every time there's the shift, you get a little puff of black smoke coming out, but because you can see the big intercooler on the front end of that race car. But we'll have a look at it and at least talk to some officials and find out for sure 100%. But as of right now, the 12 of Jimmy Briere is your race leader. Bourdage, Bedard, Hoggenschurz in the 11. Hoggenschurz had big problems yesterday. Now look at the 11 dive out on the outside down the back straightaway. He's your points. Was your points leader, I was going to say, but Bedard took over the points lead with his win last night here in the Super Production Challenge. But these two have been having a dogfight all season long. That's a good battle that's shaped up now between second, third, and fourth. And we're going to wait and see how this one shakes out. But that 6 car continues to lead the bunch through as they come around corner number 9, 10, and head towards 11. Marc-Andre Bourdage, Olivier Bedard, Eric Hoggenschurz are the second, third, and fourth place cars right now, and that 6 goes awfully far to driver's left. Yeah, and he hooked it fairly soon off of turn number 11. Did he open up the door? He did a little bit. I think Bedard thought about it. Now look, the door is open in turn 2.
But again, not quite there for the driver of the 1. Will it be for turn number 3? Possibly. If they're polite, they will make it through. No, contact, but just barely contact as Bourdage continues to try and hold off the challenge of the 1 of Olivier Bedard.
Has Bourdage had some sort of damage from that initial contact that is affecting the handling of that car, because something is going away as the pass is going to get completed at corner 6.
Yeah, and Hogenschertz is going to come through as well as the door had opened. Look at Marc Aru in that Chevy Camaro. Now he's going to make it 3 wide down this straightaway. Almost. So Hogenschertz managed to get up enough speed. He holds off the 24. Aru drops into line in turn number 8. Gabriel Lacombe in the 03, another Honda Civic, is in there too. So those two started around each other, and it looks like these 3 cars who were the quickest in race number 1 have sort of started to find their way to the top.
Bit of a shuffling, though, in the top 5, though, as we complete another lap and look towards corner number 1. That 11 car has now made its way up into the 3rd spot. Eric Hogenschertz. Olivier Bedard in the 1 is 2nd. Marc Aru and Marc-Andre Bourdage has fallen in 5th, down to 5th.
Remember, that 11 car had some damage to the back end. He was dragging the bumper cover for a lot of that race last night, and as a matter of fact broke the rear taillight cover. The team replaced that, fixed the bodywork, and it looks as good as new, and is driving as good as new too. However, after that initial spin in turn number 2, early in the race, Hogenschertz had to come right back up through the field. He was aided by a couple cautions, which was good news for him, but he drove the wheels off that thing to come home in the top 5.
At your leader right now, the 12 car of Jimmy Briere, who came up the inside of corner number 1 off the initial start. A little bump and grind with the 6, but found his way to the front of the field and has maintained that ever since. And now once things have settled down, we'll see if Olivier Bedard has anything for him, but that gap appears to be growing.
Yeah, if you look back to Olivier Bedard, he's way back there compared to where he was earlier in this race. About a 4-second margin between your leader and 2nd place, and now they're starting to work through the slower traffic. Some of those compact cars, they just don't have the speed and the horsepower compared to the super production cars. So it is quick work by your race leader, but it all depends on where you catch them.
Definitely the traffic is going to play a role, and that's part of the reason I think that Jimmy Briere has a slower lap. Eric Hogenschertz just posted the quickest lap, about 0.7 of a second quicker than the leader.
So that'll close that gap fairly quickly. He's still 5.4 seconds back, but there's still lots of time left to go. Just over 22 minutes left in this 30-minute timed race for the Super Production Challenge. And again, there is your race leader, Jimmy Briere, finished 2nd last night in race number 1 of the weekend, has flirted around the top of the standings all weekend long, but got a great start and has opened up a nice little gap here on 2nd place, Olivier Bedard. And that whole inversion of your quickest drivers. So again, you take the fastest time set in race number 1. That sets your grid for race number 2. Essentially use it as a big qualifying session. And so what they do is they'll let the fastest driver draw uphill, and then they'll invert several cars, and that's what happened. But it gives an opportunity to sort of mix it up a little bit.
And that's what you want to see, is competitive passes, drivers moving and trying to hustle their way through traffic, looking to battle for position. And if you do a little inversion, and that's some significant contact with the number 17 car that has come to a stop out on track, and that is a fairly significant hit for Joel Watts.
Yeah, for sure. He was running in the 18th position, a rookie. Tooth Autosport is the team that prepares that Honda Civic SI. The driver from Ottawa, Ontario. It'll be a full course caution to slow things down. So one that Jimmy Briere did not want to see, because now he has Olivier Bedard on his back bumper. Hogenschertz there as well. And we know how quick those two drivers are. But let's have another look at, this is an incident, a different incident. And I believe it involves the number 91 of Sean Bernier. trying to work his way through traffic. He nearly got airborne.
Well, I'll say at least one tire got airborne. It looked like he was coming through corner 11 and got on those rumble strips and just had enough lift to kind of bounce the front of that car up in the air.
Full safety car being deployed as we continue under a full course caution, as has been the case with every other class on the track in a timed session. The time does continue when it is a caution period. You can see the medical crew on scene, but that is looks to be a pretty significant hit, a big crunch on the right front corner of that Honda Civic for Joel Watts.
Safety officials on the scene just attending to the driver, Joel Watts, and got the door open now, trying to have a conversation with him just to assess to make sure he's okay. And
it's right on the front straightaway. So he did that on the exit of turn 11 and came to a rest about halfway down the front straightaway, just about at the start-finish line, which is a different place to catch the wall. I mean, turn 11 is sort of a difficult corner, but it's not a really hard corner where you're slowing and you're just trying to maintain your speed to get back on the straightaway. I guess if you hit the curbing too much, it upsets the car and it shoots you directly out into the wall. Again, just sort of talking about possibilities here. We don't know exactly what happened. We didn't have that crash in camera range, but an unfortunate end to the day for Joel Watts.
Definitely some significant right side contact that bent that right front wheel, and that car will be loaded up onto a flatbed and pulled out of the way. And meanwhile, the rest of the field will circulate, try to keep some air or some temperature into those 4 tires underneath them for the restart when it does come about. But right now it continues to be Jimmy Briere out in front in the 12, Olivier Bedard, number 1 car, running 2nd. Eric Hageshirts is 3rd. Marc Aru is 4th in the 24. And Gabriel Lacombe in the 03, currently running in 5th spot.
Remember that incident with the number 91, so that's Chris Bernier, another driver out of Ottawa, Ontario, as he was working through lap traffic. You can see there is some damage to the bumper cover of that BMW, but nothing too severe. Here's another look at what happened, and it's contact. So the 45 of Nelson Chan, the driver out of Richmond Hill, Ontario, just outside of Toronto, making contact with Joel Watts as they exited turn number 11, and that would give us a pretty good reason as to why you would end up in the wall there.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was anything malicious at all. It just looked like the 17 was drifting a little bit to the right, and there wasn't quite enough space there, and just a little rub from the 45 is enough to send it into the wall.
Yeah, at that point, where you hit it is very important too, and that's just right about at the back wheel for Nelson Chan as he tried to get out of the way, no doubt. But unfortunately, 2 cars coming together puts us under a full course caution. We're nearing the halfway mark now of this 30-minute timed race for the Super Production Challenge. The next race coming up will be the Dirt Modifieds on asphalt, and the final for the Chevrolet Urban Challenge. 25 laps for the final for that race. And it'll kick off at 6:15, so plenty of time to get it done before we see darkness here, because those cars do not have any headlights. We saw some exciting racing at nighttime last night with the Sports Car Championship Canada Series. And we've seen the Super Production Challenge Series also run under the lights here, although limited lights. They essentially just rely on their headlights. But fun to watch for sure, just not when you're in a dirt modified and you've got no headlights. So continuing under caution, and you can see the field is mixed up. The compact cars mixed in with the Super Production cars, the production cars in there as well. They're all sort of scrambled together, and they will stay that way as we go back to green. Essentially where the caution comes out, the field gets frozen, and the drivers will restart where they stopped. I think we should be just about done with the cleanup here on the front straightaway, so probably another lap or so away from going back to green.
Looks like they just want to make sure that there's no debris left out on the front straightaway after that 17 car had some pretty significant contact and bent that right front. So just doing a quick survey to make sure there are no bits and pieces that are going to cause problems out on the front straightaway when we resume green flag action. Looks like everybody's just kind of packing up, and we might be getting set to go, hopefully, at the end of this lap.
Thing is, where Watts hit in turn number 11, and then he continued on, slowing all the way down the straightaway. So that's why they walked down the wall with the brooms in case parts and pieces had fallen off. You want to pick them up and get them cleaned up. Because that is, and I mean, anywhere on the racetrack is usable at some point if you really want to force it, but that area especially is, we've seen it on several occasions where drivers have been diving down there and using that to hold off another driver who's having an attempt. You might want to wake up. We're heading for a great finish here in the Super Production Challenge. But it's been a long day in the sunshine for some people.
Just past the halfway point of this 30-minute race, and we're waiting to see if the lights will go out on the pace car, and we'll get everyone formed up and ready for a restart here out front. Looks like the cleanup is pretty much done, and we'll get back to some green flag action before the end. Cars beginning to weave back and forth just a little bit, maintain some heat in those tires. Shouldn't be hard to do today. Jimmy Briere, the leader. Olivier Bedard running second. Hageshurst, Haru, and Lacombe are the top 5 as we get set to hopefully get the restart again this lap.
Reapply with the sunscreen is definitely something that has been needed here today under several occasions. The sun is hot and beautiful out, actually. It's just been a gorgeous day to come out to the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières and catch all the racing action. Of course, we started bright and early. 9:30 was the first laps turned as the gates opened at 8:30. Tomorrow we're going to do the same thing. As a matter of fact, gates open at 8. The qualifying for the Modified Legends will hit the track at 9 o'clock, so it'll be another early start tomorrow. And of course, you can catch all the action right here. We'll be streaming it for you online all weekend long as the pace car pulls in looking for the green flag. Wouldn't you hate to be that number 67 of Vincent Desautels in the Honda Fit, sitting there second spot on the racetrack and about to be swallowed up by several drivers as the green flag waves. We're back underway with just over 13 minutes left to be completed. Whoa, we got the Chevy Spark. Did it go around? No. Continues on, lost a lot of speed though. That's Eric Coulomb, the rookie, in the Paillet-sponsored Chevrolet. So he slows in the 83. That was the only incident on the restart. As we say goodbye to Todd Lewis, he heads downstairs to work on his NASCAR on TSN TV duties. Jimmy Briere still your leader in the 12 car, followed by Olivier Bedard, Eric Hageshurst, and Marc Haru. Your top 3 as the, or top 4, I should say. As another driver has edged up into the top 5 that we haven't seen essentially for most part. The 89 of Samuel Leclerc, that beautiful looking Acura TL, is now in 6th spot behind the 03 of Gabriel Lacombe. I believe he's managed to pass Lacombe at some point on this lap, or is just about to. Lacombe just ahead. There's the 03 on the outside as we continue on. Under green with 11.5 minutes to go now. Eric Hageshurst knows it's time to go in the 11. He's all over the back of the 1 of Olivier Bedard. Again, these two drivers came into this weekend separated by just 1 point. That changed with Olivier Bedard getting the win last night. Hageshurst finishing 5th. Hageshurst is going to do it on the outside in turn number 6. That pass completed before they even reached the corner, as he moves around the 1 of Olivier Bedard and now sets his sights on your race leader. Jimmy Briere, who has led since the drop of the green, opened up about a 5-second lead at one point in this race before that caution came out. He is soon to be under pressure from one of the fastest cars on the track. Eric Hogenschertz, his last time around, was not quite as quick as your race leader. As a matter of fact, Jimmy Briere just set his quickest lap of the day, a 1:14.417. And that might even be the fastest time overall. So Briere, and we've got contact. Hogenschertz into the wall, turn number 3. Olivier Bedard moved to the inside. Look at the damage to the back end of that BMW. We stay green for now, but how much longer? Hogenschertz manages to drive away, but wow. That was a forced pass from the one of Olivier Bedard into turn number 3. Have another look at what happened to the inside. Turn 3 is not a great passing opportunity. Hogenschertz didn't know he was there and gets turned into the wall. So Bedard tried to stick his nose in turn number 3 in an area where passing is very much at a premium. And now he's got a pretty twisted up race car. Does the driver of the 11. He managed to refire and get going. Don't think he's crossed the line just yet. Yes. We're waiting to see where he slots in. 5th place overall, so he's behind. Actually, he's continuing to drop down. 8th is where he crosses the line behind the 9 of Chris Bernier. So he lost several positions, did Eric Hogenschertz. And look at the distance that the 1 car of Olivier Bedard dropped back to. So he may have some issues on the front end after making contact with the 11. Problems on the 18 of Shelby Mills out of Stittsville, Ontario, driving the Volkswagen Jetta GLI. Cars down pit lane and the hood is up, so Shelby Mills will see her race come to an end just a little bit early. But it's still the Hyundai Genesis of Jimmy Briere out in front by himself. The gap back to Olivier Bedard is now 3.1 seconds. Marc Roux is a further 2.24 seconds back. Although Bedard is coming. 2.6 seconds now is the difference between your leader and second place, but will he have enough time? 8 minutes left in this 30-minute timed race for the Super Production Challenge Series here at the Grand Prix at Qualifiers. Yeah, but 0.4 of a second quicker was Olivier Bedard over Jimmy Briere. So Bedard has himself calmed back down in the car, and he's setting his guns to stun at right now, and he's pulling the trigger and trying to close the gap. There you see Marc Roux in the 24, Gabriel Lacombe in the 03. Then you have the 89 driven by Samuel Leclerc. As the rest of the field comes through, there is Eric Hogenschertz in the 11. So we filtered all the way back to where he is running right now, which is at the 8th position. Bourdage, Bernier, and Hogenschertz. You can see another broken rear taillight cluster for the driver of the 11. Big damage to the bodywork on the side of that car as well, after getting into the tire wall in turn number 3. That was a significant hit too. It went backwards in, and then the nose went in secondary. You can see a little bit of lockup, possibly tire rub after all of that bodywork gets shoved onto the tire area. You can see it is very close to rubbing. Now look at the distance at the front, 1.9 seconds now as they continue to work through lap traffic. We might have a battle before this race is over. Battle for the lead. Best time just laid down by Eric Hogenschertz. interesting to hear what's said between those two drivers, Olivier Bedard and Eric Hogenschertz, after this race. Is turn 3 is generally a turn where you have to be sure that you have the pass made and the driver cleared by the time you get there. If you do run side by side, again, you can't really be poking your nose in at the last minute because the driver won't expect it to happen. Look now, that's first and second right in front of each other. Jimmy Briere in the red number 12, the white number 1 of Olivier Bedard to the inside as they work through lap traffic. But Bedard has managed to track down second place and put him in his sights. Third place is back there just a little bit. There's an awful lot of lap traffic in between the two. As Briere continues to lead. Let's have a look at the time at the stripe. See the difference between these two cars as they hit the timing stripe. Be another 3/10 knocked off. So 8/10 of a second, under a second now between first and second. Here in the Super Production Challenge Series, a Hyundai Genesis driven by Jimmy Briere. Out of Qualifiers, Quebec. Wouldn't it be great if he won in front of his hometown crowd? Olivier Bedard from Terrebonne, just outside Montreal. He has a win already for his Extreme Motorsport team. Can he make it 2 for 2 here today? He's going to try with just under 4 minutes to go. So that's about 3 laps on the racetrack if we stay green. Briere working through turn number 9. Olivier Bedard taking a much different route through that complex and continuing to close the gap. We'll have a look again as they cross the stripe. We can see it on the track though. The difference between the two is getting smaller. That time it was only 1/10 of a second knocked off. So it looks like Jimmy Briere is reacting to the pressure being put in by the one of Olivier Bedard, and Briere is picking up his pace. Now Bedard takes a look on the inside. He is way too far back to make any sort of credible move into turn number 6. But he again just wants to get into the mirrors of the driver in front of him. Again, he holds out of that draft, headed towards turn number 8 and another passing opportunity. Briere eases his way in, almost touches the wall on the inside. Bedard slides to the outside of the runoff area in turn number 8, trying to carry as much speed as he can. Looks like we'll be able to get another couple laps in. We'll see when we cross the stripe if the last lap is shown. It is not, so a couple more laps with 2 minutes left in this 30-minute timed race for the Super Production Challenge Series. There's Marc Aru, who's had a great run, sitting in 3rd spot quietly, just doing his job, going about his work. And he's got a significant gap now on the 03 of Gabriel Lacombe. Samuel Leclerc is in 5th spot, and the number 89 as they work through lap traffic. So the Lombardi Honda, the 38, pulls to the inside and out of the way as the two leaders now nose to tail through turn number 8. And then again, this time Bedard is a little tinier. Is he going to poke a nose in 9? He thought about it. That's gotten him in trouble at least one point. earlier in this race as he made contact with the 11 of Eric Hagenschurz. But look at the drive. He gets off turn 11 and to the white flag. One more lap to go for your race leader, Jimmy Briere. He'll tuck to the inside. Bedard will drive, crossover. He'll be on the outside in turn number 2. Briere will have the preferred position. Look at Bedard. Outside to inside. Slide back in behind the number 12 of Jimmy Briere through turn number 3. Down the back straightaway for the final time. It looks like Briere has been the quickest down the straightaway, which is good news for him coming up into this final passing zone in turn 6, or the passing zone for the final time. There is a couple others still to come. 8 is a good opportunity for Bedard to make a move. But will he be close enough? Heavy traffic all around this racetrack now as the 40 cars, and they're right in front of the leader. Briere is tucked up in behind one of the compact cars, so full course caution too. So this one is going to end under caution. As the white flag being displayed, full course caution, and now we'll see the leaders come through to the stripe. The field is frozen as time has elapsed. And now checkered flag for your winner, the 12 of Jimmy Briere, followed by the number 1 of Olivier Bedard. Marc Aru will come home and finish in 3rd spot, and that is the reason for the full course caution. Chris Bernier in the number 91 is crab walking off of turn number 6, so he got into something hard, and it's likely into that runoff area in turn number 6. So if you don't get it right through there, you either hit a tire wall or even worse, you hit a concrete wall. Have another look. One car goes off into the runoff zone. And waiting for the BMW to come through. That might not be where he hit, but it looks like he did hit concrete. Did Chris Bernier. You can see the wing even has damage on that race car as Bernier will come through to complete his laps and get credited with his finish. Bernier actually comes home 13th overall, so still not a bad day despite the bad way it ended. Oh, it was turn 2. And it was contact with a driver in front of him. That looked like Marc-Andre Bourdage. It was. You see the 6. Hagenschurz just in behind, and it wasn't a super hard hit with the wall, just a brush against the wall, but it was enough to cause damage to that number 91 in the super production class. But that does it for the action on track in the Super Production Challenge Series. The checkered flag has flown, but again, they'll have one more race coming up tomorrow. We're excited to see that one as well, as these drivers have put on great shows each time they hit the racetrack, and we have one more race to bring you tonight. So we're going to take you through the podium ceremony for the Super Production Challenge Series. Big congratulations to your race winner, Jimmy Briere in the 12, Olivier Bedard in the number 1, coming home in 2nd, Marc Aru in 3rd overall. And there you can see the window net going down on the 91 of Chris Bernier. But there he is, getting all unstrapped and unbuckled, getting the radio communications disconnected in that race car. A big breath. It's got to be hot inside those cars today. That is for sure. Nearing 30 degrees Celsius, the ambient air temperature outside the track. The wheel comes off as we wait for Jimmy Briere to jump out. But as he does, let's have another look at the action that was here in the Super Production Challenge Series. And that standing start It was actually fairly orderly for the most part, except for there. You saw the contact Briere made with the 6. Marc-Andre Bordage. It did not negatively affect either car, obviously. Jimmy Briere, he managed to continue on, take the lead, and hold off a hard-charging number 1 of Olivier Bedard. Bedard, though, managed to work his way up through the field, getting by Bordage, bringing along Eric Hogenschertz with him, Marc Aru as well, and Gabriel Lacombe in the 03. The other yellow and purple Honda Civic. Some drivers had a pretty eventful day. That was the 91 Chris Bernier making contact with a back marker. The 17 of Joel Watts having trouble on the exit of turn number 11. That drew a full course caution. And this really set up an interesting storyline. So Olivier Bedard got right up to the back of the 12 of Jimmy Briere, but it was Hogenschertz, the man on the move in the 11 for a little while. He managed to get around the 1 of Olivier Bedard. Bedard tried him to cross over in turn 2, a drive down into turn number 3, and this is where contact. And that's the end result. Hogenschertz into the tire wall, losing a number of positions. All wheels pointed in the right direction, at least as much as they could be. He managed to salvage a 7th place finish, though, did Hogenschertz, as the race ends under caution. And the win goes to the 12 of Jimmy Briere, Bedard, and then Marc Aru in the 24 comes home in 3rd spot. But a big congratulations to the driver out of Qualifiers, Quebec. Jimmy Briere wins here at his home track in his home Grand Prix here at the Grand Prix de Qualifiers. Thank you to Todd Lewis. I'm Dave Bradley. We'll be back in about 15 minutes or so. Possibly about 20 minutes. We'll be back with the start of the Chevrolet Urban Challenge for the Dirt Modifieds on the road course. Always a show you want to watch. It is fun to watch these cars and the way they move around, and we'll have all that fun brought to you live here in minutes. Again, I'm Dave Bradley. Thank you very much for joining us for the Super Production Challenge. We'll be back in minutes for the Chevrolet Urban Challenge in the Dirt Modifieds here at the Grand Prix Qualifiers.
Mesdames et messieurs, nous allons maintenant procéder à la cérémonie protocolaire de la course Super Production Challenge. Pour honorer les pilotes de la classe principale, qui s'appelle Super Production, j'invite le directeur principal de Beneva Assurance, M. Jonathan Pilon. En troisième position de cette classe principale, il est de Trois-Rivières, Marc Héroux. Bon, alors, on vient de m'amener les pilotes de l'autre classe. Je vais attendre les pilotes de la classe principale. Quel est votre nom, jeune homme? Yannick Lupien en troisième place, in third place. Yannick Lupien dans la classe. Quel est le nom de la classe? Production. Bravo. Le deuxième étant M. Chan. Connor Belt. Sorry for the confusion. On n'est pas habitué à ça. Nelson Chen est le gagnant de cette classe production, mesdames, messieurs. Il est accueilli par Jonathan Pilon, le directeur principal de Beneva Assurance. Ceci complète la cérémonie protocolaire de la course Super Production en catégorie production. Restez avec nous pour la prochaine épreuve au programme qui sera diffusée à la télévision dans la catégorie Défi urbain Chevrolet.
And welcome back to the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières in the 52nd running here in 2022 as we get set for the final race of the evening. And a very unique race. One you will not see anywhere else. I can guarantee you that. With the Chevrolet Urban Challenge, the dirt modifieds running on asphalt, turning left and right. So these are cars that are built to go only left and usually run on dirt tracks throughout the Northeast, of course, in the Ontario and Quebec area, down through New York as well. But here today, they are the prime show of a Saturday night at the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières. And there is a pretty big field of them, which is awesome to see. So you can hear there is a rumble outside of our situation here as we get set to bring to you all the action. Just waiting for the pictures to come up on the screen. I'm Dave Bradley. I've been joining you all day long, and I will do the same again tomorrow, happily, here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, calling all the action in all divisions, in all series that will be making a stop. Of course, tomorrow's day will be highlighted by the Russo Medal 60, presented by Julia Wines for the NASCAR Pinty's Series, as qualifying has been completed for the NASCAR Pinty's Series. We can tell you the pole sitter in that one. Actually, yeah, Kevin Lacroix, your pole sitter in that one, as I had to just do a quick double check. It was LP Dumoulin was quickest in practice by a significant margin, but LP couldn't get the speed in qualifying. But we're getting set to start things off here in the Chevrolet Urban Challenge. Let's head down trackside.
En 14e place, le numéro 47, Simon Perrault.
En 13e position, le numéro 63, Ron Fellows.
En 12e, le numéro 29, Steve Turcotte.
En 11e position, la voiture numéro 92, Dexter Stacy.
En 10e place, le 35R, William Racine.
En 9e position, la voiture numéro 41, Samuel Charland.
En 8e, le numéro 33, Alex Lajoie.
En 7e position, pilotant la voiture 00, Donovan Lucier.
En 6e place, le 22C, Cédric Gauvreau.
En 5e position, la voiture 18D, Alex Tagliani.
En 4e place sur la grille de départ, le 79, Maxime Plante.
En 3e position, conduisant la voiture 1C, Marc-Antoine Camiran.
En 2e place, le numéro 49, François Bernier.
Et en pole position, la voiture numéro 44, Sébastien Goujon.
Mesdames, Messieurs, ceci complète les 15 premières positions de la grille de départ de cette course défi urbain Chevrolet. Nous enchaînons maintenant avec la prestation.
So the track crew going through the introductions for the top 15.
Amoureuse de la musique, du chant et de la danse, Marie-Juliette se passionne pour toutes les formes d'art avec un grand A. Dès ses premières visites au Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, elle caressait déjà le projet de chanter l'hymne national, donnant le coup d'envoi à la course de son oncle, le pilote trifluvien Marc-Antoine Camiran. C'est avec une fierté inégalée devant l'équipe Camiran que du haut de ses 12 ans, Marie-Juliette Proto vous interprète l'hymne du Canada. Veuillez vous découvrir et vous lever.
Au Canada, terre de nos aïeux, ton front est ceint de fleurs en glorieux, car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire épopées des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Marie-Juliette Proto, 12 ans, la nièce de
12
Marc-Antoine
years old,
Camira.
the singer of the national anthem. Here as we get set to bring you the Chevrolet Urban Challenge for the Dirt Modifieds here at the Grand Prix Qualifiers. And again, what's interesting about this is it was the brainchild of Dominique Fougère, the promoter here at the Grand Prix de Qualifiers, to do something different, to shake things up. And the first year this happened was during the pandemic last year. And so he just sent out the invitation to all tracks in the area, all drivers, saying, come on out, bring your car, and come run here at the Grand Prix de Qualifiers. Now, what's ideal for this particular circumstance is, yeah, sure, they're using dirt tires on an asphalt track, and the cars are made for dirt tracks and made for only going left. However, there is only 2 right-hand turns in this entire GP3R circuit. And one of them is a tough one. It's turn number 1. That's the first right-hander that they will encounter. And that has always led to some issues with the modifieds on asphalt. But the other one is turn 10, which is not a huge significant corner. It's more of a kink. So there's really only one right-hand turn that they have to worry about. The rest of them are left-hand corners. And the drivers have been sailing them around, driving them like they do on dirt tracks and able to kick out the back end and then control it. Here's a look at the 2.46 kilometer 11 turn Circuit Qualifiers, and there you can see turn number 1 is the main corner that these drivers will be concerned about, and that's the only real right-hander. The other one is turn number 10, just in behind as you come onto the main straightaway here on the front chute. Turn 7 is more of a kink. It's pretty much a straightaway, so you head into turn number 8. But all of the rest of them are pretty much left-hand corners. There will be a chicane set up down the back straightaway. 2 tire walls will be dragged out onto the racetrack, or being dragged out as we speak, and that will slow things down for these modified drivers as they exit turn number 3, head down the back straightaway. They'll have to slow up just a little bit, go through one of those chicanes, and then head down the rest of the straightaway towards turn number 6. But there's a lot of really interesting big names in this one, too. Visiting drivers, really, in addition to some of the mainstays of the dirt track world. So you've got the Plants, you've got Samuel Charland, you got Donovan Lucier, you got Sébastien Gaujon, Yann Busser, David Hebert. They are all running. Yannick Ledoux is another one of the drivers that you see often on a Saturday, a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday night on dirt tracks in the area, but they'll be joined by some special guests. Let's head back down trackside.
Traditionnelle à lancer les moteurs. Voici la porte-parole des concessionnaires Chevrolet du Québec, comédienne et réalisatrice, Madame Marie-Lou Wolfe.
Pilotes, démarrez vos moteurs. Drivers, start your engines.
Dankeschön, Fraulein.
Drivers firing them up here on the front straightaway as we get set to go green for 25 laps for the Chevrolet Urban Challenge. So when we return, we'll bring to you the Chevy Urban Challenge. The drivers will be going through their pace laps, getting some heat in their tires, and looking forward to the drop of the green. Actually, it looks like we're going to stay with this, so I'll keep going. But you can see that the entire field is lined up. So they did go through a series of qualifying procedures over the course of the weekend. The drivers who were here had a practice session on Friday morning, early Friday afternoon, and so able to get out, try some new things, just see what it feels like to go around this Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières circuit, excuse me. And then, of course, followed by the qualifications just before the dinner break on Friday afternoon. So the qualifying was done in groups based on practice speeds, just like the NASCAR Pinty Series does, so to limit the number of cars on the track at one time. But then they took the top 20 and did like a pole shootout. So a 5-minute or 10-minute session, a pole shootout to set another time to try and get the quickest cars out of that. And then what they did was had a 3-lap dash for the pole as a race before break on Friday. So there was lots of racing action for these cars yesterday. Today, they have not been on track, other than first thing this morning was a last chance qualifier for those who didn't make it or those who had to make changes. Interesting to note, Raphael Lessard did win that last chance qualifier, but he was a driver who won that dash on Friday night. He's been very, very quick in practice, in qualifying, and in that quick little race on Friday night. But they made major changes, and unfortunately for them, they lost their qualifying time, lost their qualifying position, and had to go to that LCQ to secure a better starting spot. So keep an eye on the 24 of Raphael Lessard. He'll start in 20th position here today for 25 laps, but he did work his way through the field in the LCQ, eventually passing the one of David Hébert, Yannick Ledoux, Kevin Parenteau, Jean-François Leblanc, Daniel Demare, François Bellemare, Vincent Berthume, and Jean-François Tessier are all the drivers who came out of the last chance qualifier earlier on this morning. But the drivers at the front of the field also very, very quick, and we do have a number of visiting drivers outside of Raphael Lessard. We have Marc-Antoine Camirand, who finished on the podium in that 1C, a car very, very similar to the one driven by David Hébert. Marc-Antoine Camirand has been quick. So is Alex Tagliani in the 18T. Cedric Gauvreau has been in and around the top 5, top 10 all day. He's not a visiting driver, but definitely a name that you recognize from the modified circles. Dexter Stacey is in this race. And how about Canadian Motorsport Hall of Famer Ron Fellows driving a Chevrolet-sponsored number 63. Can't miss it. It is yellow, very similar to the yellow of his Corvettes that he won Le Mans with years ago. Jean-Philippe Bergeron, another veteran of the NASCAR Pinty Series, in this race as well. So there are a number of drivers to watch. If you're just a casual fan, if you're a hardcore dirt modified fan, you know who to choose. And you know who your favorite is to watch here today. But the cars are spectacularly prepared ahead of today's race. All the bodywork very straight, very clean looking. Were these cars? The teams came prepared to put on a show here at the Grand Prix Trois-Rivières. Maxime Hébert, Brandon Beauregard, Martin Pelletier, Carl Langlois. There you see Ron Fellows in that bright yellow number 63. Josiane Plante in the 97, one of the female drivers. Carl Langnon, Carl Potvin, and Frederic Bellemare will round out the starting order as you take a look at the starting lineup coming across the bottom of your screen. It's in French, but the third ligne means the third row. There's Tagliani and Cedric Gauvreau. If you look back to row number 4, that's where you will find Donovan Lucier and Alex Lajoie. Fifth row has Samuel Charland in the 41, William Racine in the 35R. And then we look back one more row to number 6. And that's where we find Dexter Stacy in the 92, Steve Turcotte in the 29. 7th row is Ron Fellows in the 63, Simon Perrault in the 47. Then you have Josiane Plante in the 97 and Evan Racine in the number 54. That is your 8th row. And as you can see, there are a lot of cars here today. JP Bergeron in the 18. Line up to the inside of row number 9 alongside Norman Amel. Jan Boussaert in the number 21 alongside Raphael Lessard in the 24. Again, Lessard is the one who came up through the last chance qualifier. And we're going to do another full pace lap before we go to green. So allow these drivers to get as much heat into the tires and get as comfortable as they can before we go green. Has been a very, very hot day, so the drivers have been hanging around in the heat all day. Those who did drive in the last chance qualifier were on a very, very different track. At 9:30 this morning, the track was much cooler than it is now, but you can see even under pace laps how tight it is coming through turn 3 in the Duplessis gates. So that is going to be a place that we're going to be watching for the first lap here for the Chevrolet Urban Challenge, as the field lines up 2 by 2 all the way back to 36th position. And a great field of dirt modifieds ready to go. Again, 25 laps will be the race distance. Not a timed event. It is strictly laps because we don't have any other events coming up after this one here this evening. So this is the main event of Saturday here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. We thank you very much for joining us through turn number 8. Looks like the pace car is still out on track and still not heading for pit lane, so we'll have another lap to try and get some heat in the tires. They're no longer allowed to swerve side to side as the field now lined up 2 by 2, and I think everybody thought they were going, oh no, we're going to do a 4-wide salute to the crowd down here on the front straightaway. So we line them up 2 by 2. Now a 4-wide salute down the front chute and in through turn number 1. What a sight this is.
Very traditional for dirt car racing.
Normally done by World of Outlaw sprint cars, has been adopted by many other series as well, as Joel Robinson, the producer of NASCAR on TSN and the dirt modified series on TSN too, joins us. Joel is a man who wears many hats, but
come to save Dave's voice. But I don't talk very much.
It's not that bad.
Here's the 28 pulled in behind the wall from our spotters.
Yeah, he dove to pit lane. I thought he was just going to get his steering wheel checked or something, but it looks like
runoff area somewhere.
Okay. So the 28 had some problems earlier on today. Eric Lozier out of Drummondville normally drives in the Sportsman Series. So it looks like he will not make the start here today. As the field lines up 2 by 2, now we're getting set for a full start.
How do you think a guy like Ron Fells will do in this one, Dave?
I think he'll do very well. He's not in the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame for no reason.
Patient. I think he's patient.
He's patient and he's smooth.
Yeah.
And watching him in practice, he was a little bit off the pace, but he's just learning and sort of shaking out the car. And then qualifying, he picked up the speed. And you just saw other drivers who were really hanging out the back end of the race car, and he's not doing it that much. You do have to drive it a little bit like that, but he's a lot tidier on the track than some of the others.
This car's going to be a handful of low speed.
Very much so. You can see how soft the suspension is set up for these cars as they
coming to green, Dave. Take us to the green.
Flop over to the side as the field gets set, ready to go to green, onto the front chute, and we're underway here in the Chevrolet Urban Challenge. The dirt modifieds here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. 4 wide into turn number 1. There is some contact, but we made it through cleanly. barely. One car out to the tire wall is able to gather things back up. Now through turn 3. This is the interesting point.
Yeah.
A pinch point for these cars.
You know, I think they've been told they need to settle down. Last year they struggled with this event, and this year I think, you know, they just get into a rhythm, get there first, and let's see what happens, right?
So